Good evening. It's 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, March 4th, 2026, and this regular meeting of the Sandpoint City Council is now called to order in council chambers at 1123 West Lake Street, Sandpoint, Idaho. For the record, I'm Mayor Jeremy Grimm presiding. Also present are City Council President Deb Rule, Councilors Joe Espiro, Kyle Schreiber, Pam Duquette, and Joshua Torres. Councilor Joe Tate is absent this evening. Under the city's adopted code of ethics and civility, as the presiding officer, I'm to identify law enforcement in the room serving as sergeant at arms for this evening's meeting. We have Chief Corey Kuhn in the back. Thanks, Chief. If everyone will please stand, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For members of the public in attendance, if you wish to speak during this evening's public hearing or during the general public comment portion of the meeting, please complete a sign-up form found by the door there in the back of the room and hand it to staff who will bring it up to our interim city clerk. Please note that our general comment time following announcements and reports will be the only opportunity for public comment regarding new and old business and consent calendar items other than the general matters related to city business that you can comment on that are not on the agenda. If you wish to provide testimony during the public hearing, please note as much on your sign-up form. That's a separate hearing and comment period. As we move along, just some quick business matters for the council. Council members, our next meeting is scheduled for April 1st. If you have children in school or involved with the schools, that's over spring break. Last year, we did not have a council meeting, that first meeting in April. Just like a quick poll, informal, any thoughts on whether we should meet? I will not be here. I'll be traveling with my family on spring break, but Deb, can we start with you?
I will be in town and available.
Okay, Kyle?
I'm in town and available. And I also think we have a meeting on March 18th.
You're right. I'm sorry. Yes. This is April 1st I'm talking about. Sorry. You're correct. You're available? Yeah.
I should be in town and have no young children in school either.
Okay.
I will be in town.
All right.
Is this an April Fool's joke or no?
No, this is April
Okay.
1st. Yeah.
I'll be in town.
Excellent. All right. Well, Council President Rule will be presiding over that meeting then. Excellent. Just moving on to general announcements, quick updates from the mayor's office. Things continue to run smoothly at City Hall. Got a great set of directors and department heads running the city. If everyone's not aware, there's a variety of legislation moving quickly through the State House down in Boise. Just be up to speed, be aware if you have questions. Some pretty significant legislation regarding land use, zoning, development, ADUs, duplexes, triplexes, short-term rentals, and more. So that's all I have. Any announcements from the council? Let's start from the left. Deb, any announcements?
Well, I do have one announcement. I've had some discussion with a few counselors, and I've heard a little bit from staff. And I'd like to see if this council has a general consensus to return to the more formal last name, either Counselor, for instance, Torres or Mr. Torres. Staff felt like maybe our level of professionalism was changing. So I just felt like I'd bring that forward and see how this council feels to return to that more professional. So.
All right.
Mayor,
Go ahead, Joel.
I support that.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Schreiber.
I also support that.
All right.
It doesn't bother me either way either.
All right.
Support it as well.
All right. We will go back to the council person and last name. Any other announcements, Deb? I mean, council.
More of a question than announcement. I just wanted to ask a little bit. We had a lot on the agenda last time, and I know we talked about doing that again in the fall. And if we're moving forward with staff direction to start surveys, or at least to start the groundwork for that. And then if we have any progress on the legal opinion about some of the items we wanted to put on the lot tax, mainly the enterprise fund piece of that, if we've made any progress?
Just an update, no, in the last 2 weeks, Council President Rule, we have not taken any action on the local option tax, but that will be part of the agenda and workload going forward. We'll bring it back in a timely manner, probably about another, I'm guessing, month and a half or so before we get that all lined out. Got a couple other things that we're juggling with, but certainly keep you informed and feel free to keep asking as you proceed.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other announcements, Council President Rule?
Nope.
Councilman Schreiber?
Yeah, thank you. The Urban Forestry Commission held its regularly scheduled meeting on February 26th. The East Bonner County Library invited the city to collaborate with them on an Arbor Day celebration. For those who don't know, Sandpoint is a member of Tree Cities USA, and one of the requirements for that is that we hold an annual Arbor Day celebration. So there was discussion about whether it made sense for the city to collaborate with the library's planned Arbor Day celebration. And then staff liaison presented a rubric for determining whether a tree fits with the newly adopted and recommended definition for heritage trees. That sparked a discussion about the timing of bringing that new definition to be put into our city code, and at which time the mayor instructed staff to bring that definition forward for council consideration. So we look forward to seeing that soon. And then there was a preliminary discussion about the budget analysis. As you probably know, our city code requires that the commission provide the city council with an analysis of urban forestry budget needs. And the guidance that I gave to the commission was that they give us an estimate of what it would take to get us back on track. We've heard from staff several times that the city's not budgeting enough to really get ahead of the needs, and so rather than being conservative with their budget request, I encourage them to give us a true picture of what's going on with our urban forestry needs, and then that way the council can decide how much we want to put towards that in the future. And then they finished the meeting with some discussion about the logistics of that Arbor Day event that started the meeting.
Thanks, Councilman Schreiber. Councilwoman Duquette.
May I ask Councilman Schreiber a question about the Arbor Day? Did you pick a date? Did they have a date?
I believe it's April 26th. Do you recall?
I don't recall.
Is that when the library is doing it?
Yes.
And did you decide to join the library?
They were going to participate with the library.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any announcements, Councilwoman Duquette?
Yes, I have a sustainability committee meeting on February 24th. And we approved the minutes, and then had a report by Rachel on the committee's prioritized goals and objectives. And we have two, I had mentioned before, pilot project with students. We have two offers. University of Montana has one and BSU has one. And so we're excited about being able to utilize both. It won't cost the city anything. And that's for our data collection on energy use sustainability in the municipal building. We had a report on sharing the Sandpoint Forward Resilience Plan that was created. Michaela had said she could get a copy, and we would like to share it with the city. The Sandpoint's energy efficiency audit report was conducted. Previously, we spoke of by Avista. Michaela had asked the energy efficient audit person at Avista if she was going to do another one, or would she review the plan and investigate possible changes. She said yes, she would. We wanted to, one of the members wanted to join the Leading Cities, or asked questions about the Leading Cities ACCELI Gov program that I think Rachel contacted you at the time to ask Mr. Mayor about what you had applied for. And we discussed the sustainability checklist matrix. Our new visit was budget items for the council to look at also. And then we approved the definition for sustainability as is written in the comprehensive plan.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilwoman Duquette.
You are welcome.
Councilman Torres, anything to announce?
Nothing.
Councilman Espiro, anything to announce? Excellent. We will move on. I will now invite our department heads and directors to the podium if they have any updates or reports for the last 2 weeks. And Sarah is available to answer any questions regarding the financial reports listed as item 1 and 2 on the agenda. I see Director Welker.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I've got some updates for you. Just a quick update on our work on downtown and commercial zoning code. We have been continuing our engagement with both the community and our planning commission. Just last night, we had a very productive meeting with the planning commission in here where we presented the latest version of the amendments that Bill has been working on. Last week, we hosted a downtown property owner meeting at Marigold Bistro, which we had contacted over 230 property owners in the downtown area, and we had about 30 of them show up. Very productive, generally some real excitement and support for the work we're doing around the creation of 2 new zoning districts downtown and some changes in the land use, building heights, building design standards, and so on. The timeline going forward for that, and I thank Bill for putting this together for last night's presentation. March 17th, we're going to review the commercial A changes, focusing on design standards at the Planning and Zoning Commission. Throughout April, we're going to turn our attention to Historic Preservation Code, which is a whole new section of code that Bill has written. In May, we'll review the commercial A, B, and C design standards outside of the downtown core. And we expect to have our first public hearing on these sweeping changes to our commercial zoning districts in June, with the target of July or August for hearings at the city council level. So that's continuing work on our zoning. At the last, I think it was just 2 weeks ago, there was an agenda item around revisiting some of our ADU code amendments. So I assembled some minutes and provided a summary of the minutes and the transcripts from several planning and zoning meetings back in 2023 when that topic was last addressed at the planning and zoning level. I emailed this to you all. If you haven't had the chance, I encourage you, if you're interested, to review that summary of the minutes from those 7 or 8 meetings held in 2023. And council, I do ask that you come back at a future meeting with kind of a direction you'd like us to go on revisiting the accessory dwelling unit section of our code. But I will give you a warning, as the mayor hinted at the beginning of the meeting, there are some bills being presented at the Senate this week. I looked at the proposed ADU bill in just a summary of what it would require of cities. So the ADU bill before the Senate this week could preempt local ADU regulations and would include prohibitions on off-street parking requirements for ADUs, size limits of less than 1,000 square feet for ADUs, setback requirements of more than 4 feet, and building heights that are less than the height of an existing single-family unit on the same lot. So if that bill gets through the Senate and gets through the House and gets signed by the governor, we will be rewriting our ADU ordinances here in Sandpoint to conform with state law. A lot of these bills are coming through the Senate right now.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman Trevor.
did you say setbacks of 4 feet
4 feet, correct,
from the lot line or from existing buildings?
from the lot line.
And our current is 6 feet is the.
Side yard setbacks are 5 feet right now.
5, so it'd
But
be,
there are some exemptions or some exceptions to that, such as an ADU located above a garage can be set back 1 foot from the rear property line so that you can have access from an alley, for example. So our current setbacks are generally 5 feet on the side. That would be reduced to 4 feet if this bill goes through.
I would also add that I believe the new bill or the bill being considered would also allow ADUs in the front yard.
Yeah, I'm not sure, maybe.
Yep.
There's other major bills. The STR legislation that was advanced by the Airbnb lobby has now made it through the House, and it is on its 3rd reading in the Senate this week. Highly likely to pass. The Senate committee that heard that bill recommended a yes vote on the Senate floor. So if or when that bill gets signed by the governor, we will be repealing our local short-term rental regulations and adopting the state laws around that, which will prohibit any regulation beyond the requirement of fire extinguishers and CO detectors, ingress and egress to bedrooms. So no more permits, no more licenses, no more tracking, There's not yet an effort to prevent the taxation of STRs. As you know, our lodging tax applies to short-term rentals, so we're thankful that there's not any effort to restrict cities' abilities to tax lodging. So that bill is highly likely to get passed and will be forced to amend our STR ordinance accordingly.
Jason, if we're not licensing, permitting, or tracking, can you just give us a sense of how we might be collecting lodging tax or holding people accountable for paying that?
Faith in the Airbnb platform.
Okay.
No, really, like the Airbnb and VRBO and all the other platforms collect taxes on behalf of property owners who use those platforms and remit them directly to the city. We already don't have a good way to identify which percentage of that tax comes from which unit. For example, it all comes in as a lump sum from those platforms. So we won't be in much of a different situation than we are now in terms of where the tax revenue is specifically coming from.
And if there's an independent operator?
The bill actually does require the independent operators to register directly with the state tax commission and remit their taxes to the state, which would then come back to us.
Thank you.
So yes, they're taking the local out of local government.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilwoman Duquette.
that is a new bill on the ADU?
Oh,
then?
that's the one I've mentioned several
But
times.
it was on pause last week.
That's incorrect. There was a competing bill from the Resort Cities Coalition that has been recommended denial, just been pushed aside. So the bill that we were trying to advance has been paused in the Senate, and the Airbnb bill was advanced. So the Resort Cities Coalition,
The STR was passed
the STR bill has
through.
yes.
The ADU was
Oh, sorry.
paused.
In the House, they've now brought it to the Senate side. So there's two houses of government, right? So
Right.
the House did not advance the housing affordability bills. So a version of those bills were rewritten and brought to the Senate committee, and they are being heard at the Senate committee this week.
Okay, because when I was at the town hall meeting and spoke of that, I thought I was informed that that was paused for
It happened pretty
a
quickly.
year.
It
No,
happened-
like we learned about this yesterday.
Oh.
These bills we read for the first time
Mhm.
yesterday.
Do you have a number? Is it the same
Not off
number?
the top of my head, but I'll follow it up with an email
Would
to
you
you guys.
please?
Yes, please, I will.
Thank you.
Okay. Just a quick update from rec. We've got the rec coordinator position has been posted for a week now. We're bringing back a recreation coordinator to offer programs for adults and youth, summer programs, adult leagues. I'm very excited about that. A lot of credit is owed to Ryan Wells, who has brought performance at the Sports Center to all-time levels. I have a printout of the February report. I'll hand it to you guys later. February saw revenues of $26,000 at the Sports Center, exceeding last month's record high by an additional $2,000. We saw, oh man, I wish I had it in front of me. We had something like 1,800 visitors. Oh, here we go. 1,956 unique court reservations. And year to date, we've had 4,417 users check in for a play session. And those do not include the lacrosse teams, the soccer teams, and now Sandpoint High School tennis, which is on its first week of practice. So that's all I have for you tonight. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Director Welker. I'll just follow up to Councilwoman Duquette's question. The bills are Senate Bill 1352, starter home subdivision that allows homes on lots the size of 1,100 square feet, I believe, requires. Senate Bill 1353, twin home duplex preemption, requires all lots to be eligible for twin homes or duplexes. And then Senate Bill 1354, accessory dwelling units preemption.
Thank you.
So those are the ones to follow.
Okay,
Any questions for Director Welker?
thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Public Works Director Holly Ellis. Good evening, Holly.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. A couple updates. We have our Cedar Street open house. This is a reconstruction of Cedar Street between Division and Boyer. Our open house is scheduled for March 12th. This is over at the library. There are two times. This is, again, Thursday, March 12th, noon to 2 and 4 to 7 p.m. We also have, this is fresh off the press. I do have our project manager, Eric Bush. So if I get this wrong, he can correct me. Our open house is scheduled for March 24th. That's a Tuesday for our downtown phase 3 project. And this is our reconstruction project on First Avenue.
Do we know the time of that, Holly, yet, or is it?
I don't think we have a time yet. But that's to be determined. So this is breaking news. We'll have this on our website as soon as
And I
it's
think I
finalized.
missed what you were saying at the beginning. That's for the first public.
This is our first public open house for our downtown Phase 3 revitalization project, which is reconstruction of First Avenue in downtown from Bridge and First as far south as Lake Street. Following that, our next council update to you will be April 1st. The project that we have in construction right now is right at Bridge and First Street. So we are working on the sidewalk widening. The first part of that project is construction of the wall. So we do have our contractor, they're mobilized, they're quite loud. So we do appreciate our public and our neighbors while we're removing those sheet piles. It's a very loud activity that they're working on. The wall itself is largely complete. That entire effort will wrap up by the end of the month. Then they'll take a very brief pause while we wait for weather or asphalt plants to open up. Then we'll get that sidewalk constructed and do all the pavement rehab and replacement efforts. The final update that I have for you is on our wastewater treatment plant. At our next council meeting, we'll give you an update on the overall wastewater reconstruction project, where it stands, and the request before council will be to submit our SRF application for to DEQ for the $138 million loan opportunity that is available to us. So that, just a heads up, that'll be on the next council agenda.
Thanks, Holly. Any questions for Holly?
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Holly.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Fire chief, police chief, central services, finance? All right, we're just trucking along. Excellent.
Do you have the
Oh,
presentation?
there you are, Sarah. Sorry. Just looking in the back.
All right, we have a short presentation tonight on September 17th of 2025 with resolution number 2535. The city engaged Magnuson, Mayhew, and Daughtry for the financial audit for the financial statements ending September 30th of 2025. Tonight we're going to show quickly where you can go on our website to find all the details. Want to dig in further? And then also I'll turn it over to Laura to go over, she's our auditor. I'll turn it over to Laura to go through overview of that. And if you have any more questions, you guys are always free to come and ask more questions and dig into it further.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Laura Parasita. I'm a partner with MMD, and as Sarah said, we're the independent auditor for the city of Sandpoint. And I'm here to present the 2025 audited financial statements tonight. And as we go through them on the screen, I'll point out what I think are some of the highlights in these financial statements. I'll try to keep it brief. And where I'd like to start is at page 1, which is the independent auditor's report. And the main thing I wanted to point out here is in the second paragraph, and I'm just going to read through it. This goes over our opinion on these audited financial statements. So based on our audit, our opinion is that these accompanying financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the activities within the cities. Those include the governmental activities, the business type activities. That's really the main part of this opinion I wanted to point out. This is a 3-page report, but that's the most important part right there. And then jumping to page 4, this is the start of management's discussion and analysis. This is pages 4 to 16 and is listed before the start of the financial statements. And this is actually written by management. So here you'll see a detailed narrative of some of the activity during the fiscal year, includes items such as financial highlights, financial analysis, an overview of the financial statements, including at the end of it some anticipated future activity for the city. So I won't go through this in detail, but it's very informative if you'd like to come back and read this at another point in time. And then if we jump to page 17 after that, this is the start of the financial statements presented in here. So pages 17 and 18, right in the beginning, are the government-wide financial statements. If you were to look at the MD&A that we just went through as well, if you go back and read this, that does also explain some of the differences between these different statements that we're going to go through. I'm going to give kind of a high-level overview of what those differences are. These statements here are on an accrual basis, and they include condensed activity for both governmental activities and business type activities. We'll get into more detail of what those activities consist of, but I just want to point out some of the larger line items here would include cash and investments, as well as restricted cash and investments. You'll see that capital and intangible assets are a major part of the city's balance sheet for both governmental and business type activities. And then as far as liabilities, some of those major line items are accounts payable and accrued expenses, as well as the revenue bonds. And you'll see the debt is broken out between current portions that are due within a year, and the non-current portions. And another big item here is the net pension liability for Percy. And then at the very bottom, you'll see that in the net position, there is a breakout for restricted net position, and it details what those restrictions are for. So very informative right there. The next page, page 18, is a follow-up to that statement, and it is the statement of activities. So you'll see expenses for the year, as well as various revenues. There's breakout for grants, and at the bottom you'll see a major line item here is property taxes. And then one other thing to note about this statement is that on the far left column, some of those expenses and revenues are broken out by governmental activity, major functions or programs. Okay, and then on page 19, this is the start of the governmental financial statements, which are presented on a modified accrual basis. So you'll see that a lot of the activity is similar, but some of the key items missing from here, because of that different presentation basis, you'll see that capital assets and debt, those are some of the larger items that are not included on this statement. This only includes governmental activities, and this statement in particular includes the major governmental funds. Those are the general fund and the parks improvement fund. And then other funds are condensed here into one column labeled other governmental funds. And I'll point out towards the back of these financial statements when we get there, where you can see some bigger activity or greater detail on those. On the next page, page 20 and page 22 are essentially a reconciliation between those government-wide financial statements and those governmental financial statements. So if you were to compare the two, this would give you kind of a roadmap of what those differences are between those two sets of financial statements. And then at page 21, this is very similar to page 19 in that it's a follow-up with the statement of revenues and expenditures. Again, a lot of the same activity as before, but it's broken out a little bit differently between those governmental funds. And then if we go to page 23, pages 23 through 25 are going to include the financial statements for the proprietary funds. These were also included on that first set of financial statements, that government-wide financial statement, but this again includes some greater detail for you to see activity. The water, sewer, bond payment fund, and sanitation fund are all included here. Key line items here, again, are very similar. Some of the larger line items have to do with cash investments, capital and intangible assets, and also the debt within those liabilities. And then as we move through the notes, which we're not quite to yet, you'll see that the notes break into further detail what some of these line items consist of. Okay, so then moving down to page 26, and yeah, as she's scrolling through here, there's an income statement, there's a cash flow statement, and then page 26 is the start of the notes to the financial statements. I won't go through here in a lot of detail because it's quite large. It's pages 26 through 56. And the notes to the financial statements include detail on the city's accounting policies, and it goes into more detail on some of those financial statement line items like I was just saying. So what I'd like to do is show you a good example of that as we move through these notes. And I'm going to jump all the way down to page 36 to show you an example of some of that detail. And so what I wanted to jump to is note 5, which is the fixed assets footnotes. These are those capital and intangible assets that we've been noting that are large line items in those financial statements. And you'll see here much more detail noting what those are. You'll see there's land, construction and process for ongoing projects, buildings, machinery and equipment, etc. And then on the next page, there's an additional breakout for that activity for those proprietary, or what are also called business type funds. And then similarly on page 40, and again, just because this has been mentioned a few times, this activity note 11 is that activity for debt or the city's obligations. And again, shows activity due within a year versus that longer term activity obligations for the city. A lot of the notes otherwise are very similar to prior years. There haven't been a lot of changes this year. And again, just very informative as you go through here. On page 53, the other item I wanted to point out is, there's some very long footnotes in here for the defined benefit pension plans, but notes 23 and 24 have to do with the Sandpoint Urban Renewal Agency, and that is included here because that is a component unit of the city and is required to be reported in these financial statements. And so this note goes for a few pages, but I just wanted to point out why this is in here. And then on page 57, this is the start of the required supplementary information in the financial statements. And this page and the following page are budgetary comparison information for the major governmental funds. So that will include the general fund as well as the Parks Improvement Fund. And these list out for your revenues and expenditures what the budgeted line items were and what actual activity was and the difference between those. And those are just required to be presented in these financial statements for governmental accounting standards. Going down to page 62, this is the start of some additional financial statements for your non-major governmental funds. These are the funds that were condensed into one column all the way back up at page 19. And these statements are going to provide further detail by fund for the same activity that we've seen in previous statements. So I won't go into a ton of detail here, but I did want to note that these are here And you'll see that there's a breakout as we continue down for the debt service funds as well as non-major special revenue funds. And after that, the last thing I wanted to point out is on page 68. And this is our report on internal control over financial reporting. And as this notes in the body of the report, we do not express an opinion on the city's internal controls. That's not a part of this audit, but we do gain an understanding of those internal controls during the audit. We ask questions, we do walkthroughs, we do some observations of those controls. And during our audit, we did not identify deficiencies in internal controls that we would consider to be a material weakness. And you'll see that noted in the last paragraph of this report. So if we had noted any, I'm sorry, Sarah, the last paragraph of that last page, on page 68. If we had noted any, we would have included those here. So just wanted to point out that conclusion for this year. And with that, that really concludes my presentation for the evening, unless anyone has questions for me.
Council members, any questions for the auditor? I just have one. Is it for communities, say under 20,000, is it pretty typical not to have any identifications of deficiencies? Or is that something that small towns sometimes run up against?
I don't know that I can speak to what's common, but I would say it's a testament to management. I mean, you know, it's a great thing not to have deficiencies. I think that the city has strong internal controls from what we see during our audit.
Great, thanks. Good job, Sarah. I think, what is this, year 9 of a perfect audit for you? Something like that. Well done, well done. Well, thank you so much. Council, any questions for Sarah regarding the audited financial statements? Excellent. And Sarah, did you want to run through any of item number 2, fiscal year fourth quarter financial reports?
Thank you, Laura, very much for joining us. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I did want to point out that in this book that we have put together is similar to your budget book, to where you can find all the year-end information. So you can find the funding sources in here, and it has the same type of graphs, same type of numbers. So it's laid out very similar for you guys to find the different departments. So I think that will be self-explanatory of how to navigate it. But if you do have questions and need any more help, please reach out. There's a lot of information there.
Thanks. Excellent. Wonderful. Thanks. Appreciate it, Sarah. Great work, you and your team. And council, if you have any questions, obviously, or the public, let us know. We can get answers to your questions. Next, we'll proceed with the general public comment portion of the meeting. If you wish to speak and haven't yet completed a sign-up form, please do so now. Hand it to a staff member at the back of the room. The purpose of the general comment time is to allow members of the public in attendance to address the mayor and council regarding items included on this evening's agenda under the consent calendar or old or new business. For the purpose of a general public forum, you are also welcome to comment on any topic pertinent to the business of the city of Sandpoint, not included on the agenda and not anticipated or scheduled for a future public hearing. Please note, council cannot take testimony on any planning or land use related matter outside of an official public hearing. I'd like to make everyone aware that the city does have a policy on public meeting decorum. The rules are posted just outside the chamber doors. In summary, I would ask that everyone please be pleasant, respectful, not make derogatory statements about others, including city staff, not be disorderly or disruptive. Please no calling out, clapping, or holding up signs. Public comment time is for comment only, no questions or debate. You're welcome to contact me during regular business hours if you have any questions or concerns. This is the only general public comment time that will be offered this evening. Those attending remotely who wish to speak may raise their hand on Zoom at this time. Once you turn to speak, please state your name and whether you reside in the city limits. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes. And with that, Interim Deputy Clerk, please call our first speaker.
Mr. Mayor, we have Kevin Kluender. For the public hearing.
Let's see here.
Now for the parking or do I wait until that comes up on the agenda?
You can comment now on that, Kevin.
My name is Kevin Klunder. I am a City of Sandpoint resident and a downtown business owner. I'm coming here tonight to the council to express my deep disappointment in the parking proposal that's coming forward tonight, because the proposal has gone against prior public feedback to the city, the economic realities, and concerns about the transparency of the whole process. When this has come forward to the public, consistently the city has received feedback that has been opposed to the paid public parking. And the whole thing has been watered down as we go to try and make it palatable, but I don't think it is, and I don't think it's a good idea for downtown. Paid parking will discourage downtown visitors. Studies have shown that it will reduce visiting by 30%. And this year, we've had a bad snow year, and we've experienced a downturn in the economy from Canadian visitors not coming as much. I don't think we need another black mark to keep people from coming to Sandpoint at this time. In September, the city held a meeting with the downtown business owners and got feedback from the downtown business owners. And the feedback said that the city has not listened to us. City staff present at the meeting said that we hear you. We understand you. We will listen to you. And we will make changes. And those changes came out, the Bonner County Daily Bee published an article that said that they were going to pivot it and that we would not be looking at paid on-street parking. This proposal brings back paid on-street parking. But the proposal has significant problems. And one of the things I'm going to note is that, well, the auditor did not find deficiencies in the city accounting. I find a deficiency. I am a CPA, and I know that the city of Sandpoint is exempt from paying sales tax. The proposed invoice for the equipment that you're looking at purchasing includes $12,000 of sales tax. I saved you some money, at least tonight. But the proposal does not define anything about how the city is actually going to benefit from this. We don't have any signs of what revenue will be from these parking meters, nor will we have the cost to administer it. We've got the costs of $220,000 to purchase the equipment, approximately $18,000 a year for the credit card, or for the cell phones to run the equipment, but we don't have included what the processing fees are for the credit cards, nor do we have anything for staffing that's going to be required to implement it. So I respectfully ask for the city to table this and bring back to an open meeting and come to the business owners in the downtown and jointly work together to come up with something that's going to work for everybody.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
Terry Pardini.
Good evening, Terry.
Hi, everybody. Terry Pardini, city resident. I'm going to be really quick tonight. First of all, on the parking, I had a couple questions that I'm confused about. I see that employee permits and downtown residential permits have curbside zones where they get parking with their permits. But I don't see where city and county residents get any parking on the street with their permits. So I wonder about that. And my second question is, I see that many of these categories are given between 8 and 24 hours of free parking in city lots. So how many total spaces do we actually have available in our city lots? Because those 2 new apartments on Church Street alone, I believe are going to have 89 apartments plus commercial businesses on the bottom. So I just wonder, with all these permits that we're buying and we get free parking in the city lots, is there even anywhere near the number of spaces that we would need just to accommodate the downtown businesses, the residents that might come downtown shopping? It just seems way not plausible. So that's it for me on parking, and I just wanted to offer my input on the downtown building codes. I hope, I wasn't at the meeting, I hope they've decided that a height of 65 feet is too tall for our buildings in the downtown core. And as far as new buildings along First Avenue and in the historical block neighborhood, I hope that there's something in there that says that the facades at least have to be in keeping with the historical look of our downtown, because I think that's really important that we keep the look and feel of our town. So that's it. Thank you. And look, I have almost a minute left.
Thank you, Terry. I would encourage you to reach out to your state elected officials, because some of the regulations going through the Senate right now would eliminate the city's ability to regulate many aspects of current land use, zoning, bulk, setback, height, building placement, materials, things like that. So stay informed on those bills that I mentioned and engage with your.
I've got those written down.
Engage with your,
But aren't you happy I didn't talk about ADUs or STRs?
You've got 48 more seconds.
Zola Coleman.
Good evening, Zola.
Hello, my name is Zola Coleman. I'm 17. I live in Sagal, and I would like to voice my support for Sandpoint Sailing Association. Sailing with SSA has pretty much made me who I am today. I started sailing about 3 years ago with the youth programs, and I fell in love with sailing. Sailing with SSA has helped me grow a ton, and the community has really supported me. And the youth classes are amazing. Just being outside on the water, racing, it's gotten me out of my comfort zone and really been a benefit to my life. I would truly love for it to have the opportunity to really grow and to reach more kids like me and give them these opportunities. So I'm really asking for the support for the Sandpoint Sailing Association's request for a longer term windbag marina moorage. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zola.
Mr. Mayor, we do have some participants on Zoom. If I could just have about 30 seconds to get that set up.
Sure.
We do have Dan Scheckler.
Mr. Scheckler, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you. I was born in Sandpoint, but I am a resident of Coeur d'Alene. My parents still live in Sandpoint. My dad, Keith Scheckler, taught me how to sail at the Windbag Marina about 40 years ago. In the 1990s, he and a group of local sailors, including Thor Seaborg and Terry Jensen, formed the Sandpoint Sailing Association. During that time, I taught youth sailing on those same Holder 14s that the Sailing Association is still using today. Back then, those boats had the pink sails that some of you here may remember. Those same boats are still being used by the Sailing Association to teach youth today, and it's time for an upgrade for a higher performance option to teach advanced skills. The Sailing Association has been part of this community for more than 30 years, teaching kids how to safely enjoy Lake Pend Oreille and learn the resilience and independence that sailing provides. The Sailing Association has a proven track record of being a steady and reliable partner over decades. Now they ask for a medium-term commitment of 10 years so that they can have the stability to make investments to the programs that benefit so many residents. Today I run the Coeur d'Alene Youth Sailing Program. Our kids regularly travel to Sandpoint to participate in the Tater Tot Regatta each fall. So I see firsthand how important Sandpoint's program is to the broader community in North Idaho, and attracts many tourists to the many events that the Sandpoint Sailing Association provides. But I also see that the Sandpoint Sailing Association program needs better boats and equipment if it's going to keep growing and serving young sailors. The Sailing Association can raise funds to replace aging boats and expand their training fleet if they know they have the facility in place. A longer-term moorage agreement would give them the certainty they need to raise the funds for those investments. Without that stability, it's very difficult to ask donors to support new equipment. This program has introduced generations of local kids to sailing and to this lake. Providing a longer-term agreement would help ensure the next generation of Sandpoint sailors has the opportunity to learn on better boats than the ones many of us started on. Thank you for your time and consideration. My son, Mason Scheckler, is here, and he'd also like to voice his support for this. He's a local sailor as well.
Thanks, Dan.
And may he just have the last 20 seconds of my time?
Sure, go ahead, Mason.
Hello, my name is Mason Scheckler. I am a local sailor in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I have raced many times in Sandpoint, and it's hard to see these amazing sailors in Sandpoint, these kids who do not have the right boats to be able to race and compete against us kids in Coeur d'Alene with better sailing equipment. And I would like to see them be able to compete against us with the right sailing equipment. Thank you.
Thanks, Mason.
Mr. Mayor, no one else has signed up at this time.
All right. That will conclude our general public comment portion of the meeting. We will move on to the consent calendar. For the record, the total amount of bills for the approval of the month is $1,140,702.74, reflecting $355,771.10 for regular payables and $784,931.63 for payroll. Council, any questions, or are there any items you wish to remove from the consent calendar? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Council President Rule, second by Councilman Spiro. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Schreiber?
Yes.
Counselor Rule?
Yes.
Counselor Duquette?
Yes.
Counselor Torres?
Yes.
Counselor Spiro?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we'll move on to the sole public hearing on our agenda this evening for the purpose of taking public testimony as council considers a resolution amending the city's fee schedule with a new corporate membership fee for the James E. Russell Sports Center. Director Welker will now take the floor and present on this item.
Good evening, Council. I don't have a presentation for you. We did a presentation on this back in December. We held a public hearing in December. Council asked to table it and hold another public hearing and hope that we might see more members of the public participate. Just for the new council member who wasn't here in December, this is a corporate membership pass for the James E. Russell Sports Center. The proposal is for a $1,500 pass that would provide memberships to 4 specific employees of a company that can come use that pass. An additional benefit would be the option to add additional employees for $300 per person, which is a reduction from the normal membership rate. And guests of employees of the company can come and pay the guest rate that currently STA event guests and Panhandle Pickleball Club event guests pay, which is $10 per visit, reduced from the normal $15 visit. The Sports Center's been doing very well financially. We've seen usage explode. This is just an opportunity to provide access to some community members. The typical beneficiary of this would be an employee of a local business who perhaps doesn't earn enough disposable income to join the Sports Center on their own, or their manager just wants to give them an opportunity to participate in team building activities after workplace sessions, and this would be an opportunity to do that. So pretty standard thing that sports facilities offer. Schweitzer has a corporate pass that they offer. At the last hearing, there were no members of the public here, so I think council wished to invite more members to weigh in on this. So with that, I'll answer any questions, and if you don't have any, we can just open the public hearing.
Any questions for Director Welker? Thank you, Jason. We'll now proceed with the public hearing. For the record, any written comments received were included in the meeting packets or otherwise provided to council if received in time to do so. If you wish to testify this evening, please complete a sign-up form handed to staff at the back table. Because this is not a land use or otherwise quasi-judicial hearing, those attending remotely may testify. If you're on Zoom and wish to speak, please raise your hand at this time. Those testifying will have up to 3 minutes to speak. City policy provides that the presiding officer may allow gifted time during a public hearing where you may give your time to someone else. I will allow gifted time for this hearing. Please note that the person giving time may do so only once, and the person receiving time may only receive one gift, for a total of up to 6 minutes for the person receiving the gifted time. If you are given time, please state as much when you begin speaking and state the name of the person who donated their time. Please note that both parties must be present here in the chambers. Otherwise, each speaker will have up to 3 minutes. The rules of civility and decorum, as recited earlier, are in effect. The public hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up to testify? Are there any hands raised on Zoom at this time?
Mr. Mayor, we have Iris Harrison.
All right. Good
Hi,
evening, Ms. Harrison.
Hi, I'm Iris Harrison. I live in the city. And I'm not necessarily against a corporate pass, although I am strongly against it the way the annual cost for me if I sign up for a year is $429. It would be more if I do it monthly or quarterly. And the $375, which would be one of the four, 1,500 divided by 4, is a $54 discount for the first 4 people. But then the second, any additional, it would be over $100. And that's if they're city residents. I'm assuming the price for city residents is lower because we pay the city taxes that keep up the parking lot and the maintenance outside and all of that. So if the individual would be about a 12% discount, which is pretty reasonable. The additional ones are a 30% discount off the city rate. The $529 rate of a county or Bonner County resident is a $154 discount per person on the corporate rate and $229 for the additional 4. And then there is an outside of the county and Bonner County of much higher, and those of course go way up in percentage of discount. So I would suggest amending the amounts. If somebody's from the county, you might add an equalizing payment to up it to be more in line with the 12% discount. I may not have been real clear on that, but it seems like if 4 people from the county, don't live in the city, got the $1,500 rate, that would be about a 30 to 40% discount in that, which I think is way too high. And they're paying much less for the year than I am. And then I don't understand the $10 fee for a guest instead of what I would have to pay to bring a guest. So it just is more of a equalizing numbers to me. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Iris.
Mr. Mayor, no one else has signed up at this time.
All right, this will be the last time. If anyone hasn't spoken for this public hearing, please do so now. Public hearing is now closed. We'll now move on to the action item on the agenda for deliberation and discussion on the proposed resolution. Council members, please deliberate.
Mr. Mayor, I had a question, I guess, before you gavelled. You said something about if somebody had emailed. Do we have the ability to share that? Or I didn't
They've been
understand.
shared to the council, or they were in the packet. So
Okay.
you all have the information that has been provided to the city.
Okay.
What are your thoughts, council? Who wants to start? Council President? Rule?
Mr. Mayor, I would just encourage Councilor Duquette, if you'd like to summarize a little bit of that, if you felt like those emails weren't getting their full level of expression to the public, that you could share more. I did read everything that I got, but if you feel like there's some things that could be pointed out, I think it's appropriate for you to do that.
I think it was just the same talk of the discounted rate. for the corporate pass. And I guess, I don't know, do I ask Jason a question now?
You can ask staff questions, you can deliberate, you
I
can
guess-
make a motion to change something.
Why do you think it's a necessity to do that when people have mentioned that courts are full, they have a hard time getting in? You've talked about record numbers, which is awesome. I'm wondering why. I understand a corporation would appreciate something to give an employee. I guess I wonder why 4 and why unlimited additional employees at 300.
4 is typically the minimum number to play around a pickleball. So that was,
Okay,
this
I
is
see.
mostly going to be used for pickleball.
I gotcha.
Tennis players, it's a very different game, right? Pickleball can be picked up very easily by a casual player, whereas, excuse me, tennis is, of course, something that you're not going to see as much after work, like team building group activities around a tennis game. So 4 was the number based on, kind of the users that have requested this sort of thing. It's mostly for them to come down and play.
Why more unlimited at $300? It just seems like it is not fair.
Well, from the city's perspective, these are members who, if you're I don't know, let's say you're a admin assistant for a local real estate company or something, and you really have no interest in pickleball. This is just something your employer wants to provide you. That's not really revenue lost from the city. That's only revenue gained. These are members who otherwise would not be James E. Russell Sports Center members, is kind of the typical perspective here. And the city's philosophy around use of our public recreation facility is the more the better. Our goal is always to grow membership. We want to get to 300. We're at about 250 right now. So this would be a way to help us get to our membership goal of 300. 300 is what I believe is going to be the long-term sustainable break-even level of membership. So just trying to grow our membership base up to that 300 level so we can relax, not stress about the finances as much as we have over the last year. At 300, we can have a really bad month and still be fine throughout the year. So where we're trying to grow our membership, we're trying to get more community members in the facility. While it is being used, if you check at 7:45 in the morning what the day's calendar looks like, it's going to be pretty full right now. But if you go out 2 days, pretty much empty. So we are trying to, get our members comfortable and conditioned to the fact that if you want to play on Wednesday, you better reserve it on Sunday or Monday. Whereas for the first 6 months, you could reserve at 11:30 for a noon reservation. So we're in a fantastic place right now, but we're nowhere near the full capacity of the facility. We could have twice as many members and still be in a very healthy position. So this is just a way to grow our membership, try to get to that 300 goal that we set 2 years ago before we opened. We're 75% of the way there. If we had 12 new members because of the corporate membership pass, that gets us, another 3% of the way there.
But those are only for a year.
It's $1,500 per year. So that would add 4 members to our membership base.
For that year.
Correct.
It almost sounds like you're trying to have the local people afraid they're not going to get to play if they don't sign up for membership with this. I just
That's
think,
exactly what we're trying to do.
well, I guess.
Correct. We absolutely want people to join the James E. Russell Sports Center.
All right.
Any sports facility would be thrilled to have people join. So the way the court reserve system works is really to make it a strong incentive to become a member so that you actually have those reservation capabilities, which non-members do not have.
I think you will make a lot of local people and county people unhappy with the difference in the amount. And I don't see why you would offer unlimited additional employees, I guess. I could almost be convinced of the 4, perhaps, but at 375. But I can't see a reason for adding unlimited addition for 300. Be my thoughts.
Other council deliberation? Councilman Torres.
Yeah, Jason. So you can't pass the pass. Basically, it would just be 4 folks that use
4 specific employees.
And then what happens if somebody gets laid off, or do we have a pretty simple process to transfer that pass over to somebody else?
Well, that's a good question. That was something we could write into the policy.
Okay.
Sure. Or if they, leave their job, does the employer have the right to assign that pass to a new employee? I certainly think that would be a reasonable accommodation.
Okay. And then do we have an idea of corporations, like a number, just an idea of like people that are interested?
We've had 2 local businesses that are interested and are waiting patiently for the opportunity to buy a pass.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman Spiro.
I've had a couple of businesses talk to me about it too, so I know there'll be more, but the biggest concern I've heard about this is really the pricing and what's fair, equitable. Maybe you can expound on that, why you chose these certain prices. Is it an incentive, like we want that?
Sure. I mean,
Those
as,
who think it may be unfair.
as Ms. Harrison pointed out, it's the difference is about $375 to $429, about a $54 discount. If we were to equalize that, it's not a corporate pass anymore. You're just buying individual memberships for your employees. So we're just trying to create a small incentive for employers to provide this benefit to their employees. And of course, an employer could right now come in and buy their entire team memberships, but no one's done that yet. So we're trying to nudge some local employers to bring their employees to come play at the sports center.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Schreiber.
Yeah, first off, I want to thank staff for their work on this. They've done a great job increasing utilization at the facility and thinking creatively about how to bring more people in. My comments are pretty similar to what my comments were at the last meeting, that I feel pretty strongly that city residents who are property taxpayers should get additional benefits before others, and that's including the arbitrary selection of corporations or even county or non-county residents. So my thoughts echo the public comment that we received and the emails that we received, that it seems pretty unfair to city residents that we're going to arbitrarily give, quote, corporations. Why would they get? I mean, I looked in our comprehensive plan and I didn't see anything that any reason to give incentive to corporations over city residents. Our comprehensive plan, talking about parks and recreation, talks about providing services for residents and community members. So, I would be open to the idea of a group pass where we give maybe a 20% discount or something like that to people who come in together and buy 4 passes simultaneously. But I don't see any reason for us to single out corporations for a discount.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman Spiro.
Councilman Schreiber, on that thought process, is your concern the corporation, the idea of corporation, or it might be an out-of-town corporation? So more specifically, what if it's a local corporation who pays local taxes, has local employees who live here, who are paying their fair share, so to speak? Is your concern just corporation, or possibly out-of-town corporations that may have a higher advantage than a local resident?
Well, yeah, certainly the problem gets bigger if those employees that get signed up are not city residents, as was pointed out with the percentages, right? But I don't necessarily have a problem with employers buying passes for their employees, and that's where the idea of a group pass came from. But let's just make it a straight discount for whatever that employee would have paid if they signed up individually, right? So if that employee is a Sandpoint resident, then they get 20% off of the resident rate, and if they're not, if they're a county resident, they get 20% off the county rate. And I would even go further and say Sandpoint residents should get a bigger discount than others, but I'd be willing to make it a flat discount across what they would have paid if they sign up as a group rather than, but I just don't see any justification for singling out corporations as a group that we're going to give a discount to that we don't give a discount to anyone else.
So would you be opposed to, in this scenario, a local corporation who, let's say it's a four membership, 20% discount, that corporation wants to buy 4 memberships, they get a 20% discount?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And a local family could get a discount by buying 4 passes together, or, a group of friends that likes to play together often, form their own team or set of teams and buy their passes together. If we're going to offer a group rate, let's offer it to everyone.
Mr. Mayor?
Council President Rule.
I guess my input would be that if we can't self-sustain the facility, and I think what Mr. Welker is presenting us with is a way to have it more sustainable. then we will have to pull from the general fund, which will ultimately take different monies from our residents of Sandpoint and different, I don't know, potholes, for instance. It always seems to come up. So I perceive this as a way to pull more people in and have quote unquote corporations actually help support the sustainability of the Russell Center and its longevity. And then the final comment that I would like to make is that I potentially would be very much in favor, as the way it's written right now, with the idea that we would revisit this a year from now and see how it's working. And if it's creating a lot of problem or dysfunction within the Russell Center and the experience becomes very negative for Sandpoint residents, nothing's ever written in stone up here. So we can always say, hey, we got to change it. We tried something different, didn't quite work out the way we thought it was going to work out. Let's fix it. And we don't even have to wait a year. If we see that in 6 months' time, I'm sure staff would come back to us and rethink it. We have a very professional and exceptional staff. So that's kind of where I'm sitting with this.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, just a quick response to Councilwoman Rule there. The Sports Center has never and will never affect the general fund. For the first year of operations, the Sports Center did require about a $111,000 subsidy from the Recreation Fund, which is designated only for recreational purposes. The Sports Center exists entirely in our budget underneath the Recreation Fund, so it has never impacted general fund dollars. No potholes were left unfilled because of the Sports Center. But what was left unfulfilled was our traditional recreation
programs. Yeah.
So at my update at the beginning of the meeting, I congratulated Ryan because where he's gotten us at the Sports Center financially is the reason we're able to hire a recreation coordinator right now. It's the reason we're able to offer adult softball this summer and summer programs and indoor volleyball next year, rec league, adult soccer, all the other requests that our Parks and Rec Commission have made. When you talk about sustainability of the Sports Center, I remain steadfast to the goal of reaching the 300 number in our membership. Like I said, we're at 250. I think best case scenario, we adopt a corporate membership today. We're talking about increasing that by 12 to 20 members. It's not going to get us to 300, but it will help. So the council wants to see a healthy, thriving recreation division. This is one way to do that. I think Ryan and I, with the help of some of our James E. Russell staff members, worked really hard on the proposal that has come to you tonight. We tossed about for over 2 weeks different fee structures and ideas around how to tier this to make it attractive to local employers. I would just request that you either approve or deny the proposal tonight. If you have other programs, such as a group membership fee that you'd like to see, we can perhaps bring that back at a future meeting. But the proposal before you tonight has been very extensively thought out and modeled after other similar facilities. And it is entirely towards that goal of achieving financial sustainability at the Sports Center so that we can focus our recreation revenues, which come from property taxes, on providing robust recreation programming outside the walls of the Sports Center.
Mr. Mayor?
I think Councilman Espiro was next.
Go
ahead, Councilman Duquette.
I thought we had all already said.
We're just deliberating here, so
Go ahead.
a motion hasn't been made. If a motion's made, then we'll all go once.
Okay, I'm just, why not wait and see if we need this instead of do it and then wait and see if it's a problem, I guess would be my comment. And since you don't want to talk about the group thing, that's fine. But why wouldn't any 4 city people be able to do the same thing? And then they'd save money. So I guess I do not see the purpose for all of this.
Councilwoman Duquette, I think the purpose is to try to grow the membership a little bit more. And
I understand that, but I think it's going in the wrong direction that way to try to grow. I think that's going to alienate a lot of local people who are paying $429 for an annual pass and $15 an hour for a guest. My opinion.
Sure. No, absolutely. And
I appreciate the work you guys are doing. I get it. But why not wait and see if we need it? Right now, we're having people saying it's hard to get in. You can't go when you want necessarily. If it gets so busy that the people who have sustained it can't get there, I don't see.
I
a
think
need
what
for-
we're hearing, Councilwoman Duquette, is the goal is to get to 300 membership, and this might get those people who are on the fence. I'll use myself as an example. I would go play once in a while. I'm not a big pickleball fan or player. But if my company had a pass, sure, I might go once or twice if the company was paying for it. So it might pull some of those people on the fence or who aren't avid players who don't want to buy a membership if they could get one. Just food for thought. I don't have a dog in this because I won't be voting tonight.
You don't get a corporate pass.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman Schreiber.
I just wanted to point out that that same statement is true for people who don't work for a corporation that can buy them a pass. They might be pushed over the line by a discount, just like everybody else.
Yep.
Mr.
Is it,
Mayor.
go ahead, Councilman Spiro.
Yeah, I was just going to echo a little bit what Council President Rule said, that it really comes down to our presupposition. What are we trying to accomplish with the sports center? One end, for as a business perspective, it needs to be able to generate revenue. Anybody who's part of a business understands that. So I think balancing that here is very difficult. No matter which decision is decided, it's going to affect some, and that's just the reality. I think the benefit here is if those of you who remember, who are on council, I remember this last summer, Jason, we had that meeting at the sports center discussing, is this going to be a multi-sports facility or is it going to stay pickleball and tennis? People were talking about how much revenue is bringing in or not enough. And I think we made the right decision on, well, any business that starts doesn't just create revenue right away. It takes time and effort, sacrifice, failures, and patience. And we decided to go that course of plowing through. We found the right guy. It's working well. It's working way better than I thought it would in a lot quicker time span. So to bring all that up is, I think this is another evolution, for lack of a better word, for this process of trying to see what this is going to become. And there's no doubt that it's going to affect some and frustrate some. But I think with the feedback, especially for the members, have an avenue where they can reach us, reach staff, and have collaboration in the next year, within the next year, to see, is this even working? Because it may be that there are only 2 corporations that sign up and it's just not, it wasn't the right avenue. I think being fluid, like Council President Rule said, where we're able to move forward with this, and maybe the pricing isn't right. But this is just another step, and we're not going to get it perfect, but another step when we made that decision to keep this a pickleball and tennis facility, not a multi-use facility. And staff has worked very hard. And I think it'd be appropriate to move forward with this with the understanding that we can come back here in 6 months with something else. And that's the nature of being up here. It's not the first rodeo for us. And so that's kind of where I'm leaning. Not that you guys don't have good ideas, Councilwoman Duquette and Councilman Schreiber. I'm just giving you guys kind of a heads up where I'm gearing towards. And it's nothing against your guys' ideas. I just think that's where I'm landing my airplane tonight.
I would entertain a motion if anyone's ready to make one.
Mr. Mayor,
Council President Rule.
I'd like to move to approve the corporate fees for James E. Russell Center.
Second.
Moved by Rule, second by Councilman Spiro to approve the resolution amending the city fee schedule to add the James E. Russell's corporate membership fee. This will be a roll call vote. Any further discussion?
Yeah.
And we'll each get to go once. So,
Mr. Mayor, just for record's sake, I don't know if you said Councilwoman Aspiro, but
I
I don't know. I don't know if that's going to affect the vote or not.
You're
but
making me think tonight.
Yeah, I've been called councilman.
I've
I
been
know.
called worse.
That's why we went to the first names.
Okay. I'm just having fun.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilwoman Duquette.
thank you. We said we'd give a year. We haven't given a year to see how it goes.
The year is for, go ahead, sorry.
Is
I don't know
that-
if who you're asking.
Not asking.
This is just your final
Asking good
statement
pay,
before the
yeah.
vote.
Oh, okay. I already made mine, so.
We said we would give it a year, and we did not.
Any other council statements here before we go into the vote? And Torres, you?
I guess, yeah, thank you, sir. Jason, I'm just, would like to see if you can look into something like a family pass and things like that for future as well.
All right, hearing no other council discussion, this will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Duquette,
No,
Counselor Torres,
Yes.
Counselor Spiro,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber.
No.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Right. All right, moving on to item 14, we'll now move on to old business, a proposed resolution authorizing the application to a grant program for Little Sand Creek Watershed Fire Mitigation Funding.
Mr. Mayor.
Council.
Is there
Spiro.
just a suggestion if there's any way to move the Sailing Association to the front? I think there's a handful of people here specifically for that.
Yeah, I was
Some
wondering.
younger ones that might have to
Here.
go tomorrow. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah.
With the
Any objection to moving the next item to item 16, council members? Let some of these folks, I know they're loving this, but
very sorry.
love having people here. All right. Let's move on to new business. We'll jump back to old business to expedite why some of the public's here. Moving on, item 16, Director Welker. Jason, you're back up. We're going to go into the Sailing Association regarding a request for a longer-term Windbag Marina memorandum of understanding. Sorry to jump around. You're the man tonight.
Mr. Mayor,
Council President Rule.
I might suggest that you just say Counselor so-and-so and just delete the gender.
I love it.
Counselor.
Thank you.
Okay. I hope the staff report included everything you needed because I also don't have a presentation for this. This is just a request from our friends, our partners at the Sailing Association, who the city has partnered with for years on summer youth sailing programs. They have about 5 slips, I believe, at the 100 dock at the Windbag Marina where they keep their help me out, Taylor, what's your boat called? Your tailing boat, trail coach's boat, the pontoon, the committee boat, 1 full-size keel boat and 4 or 5 small sailboats. And in fact, I have invited Taylor Long, the president of Sandpoint Sailing Association, to come share a few words with you tonight. So if the mayor would welcome the president of Sandpoint Sailing Association up to the podium,
I'd be honored
to provide a short presentation.
Thanks for all you do for our community.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I don't really have a presentation for you either. I just want to thank you for having us and considering this request. Our partnership has been wildly successful. We've got over 60 people coming out on Thursday nights to go sailing. We have kids classes who people are reaching out already saying, hey, I've been trying to get my kids sailing lessons for 2 years. And through the sailing club, we're providing a lot of access to Lake Pend Oreille. When you think about it, you know, what it costs to own a boat versus just be a member of our club, which is $150 for a family membership. It gets you, your entire family can come down for the year, utilize our boats, participate. And even if you're just a general member of the public, you can't take our boats out on your own, but you can go with a member. So we've really got a great thing going. We've got a ton of momentum behind us right now. And but as you heard from Mr. Scheckler, our boats are aging. They need to be replaced. And you know, it's a lot of money, and it's hard to fundraise and go out and write grants and whatnot when our MOU is year to year. So I would just ask that you know, you give us the opportunity to continue to
Taylor.
Thanks, Jason. No, just I appreciate everything, the partnership, and I'd be happy to answer any questions or anything if anybody has any.
Council, any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I would just like to
Council or
make a motion to authorize staff to proceed with a 10-year memorandum of understanding for all the reasons you have stated, all the people who wrote to us in favor for you.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Duquette and Councilor Spiro to approve the extended MOU. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Schreiber.
you can
Didn't
get
even
there.
work.
You'll get there. Yeah, I'm inclined to support this, but I did want to ask staff some questions about the concerns that were raised in the staff report. So, limiting flexibility in case of future needs, policy changes, that sort of thing. Do we have any long-term plans or maintenance needs for the marina that might affect this lease in the next 10 years?
No, I think the medium-term maintenance needs at the marina are around replacing old wood docks with some newer concrete docks. About half of the dock space beyond the 100 dock is still pressure-treated lumber. That's kind of the medium-term upgrade that's needed at the Windbag Marina, but nothing substantial that would impact the 100 dock especially.
Excellent. And this might be for the city attorney, but are there any legal ramifications of setting a precedent for longer term leases? No, nobody can claim, well, you did it for them, now you have to do it for us.
It's a case by case analysis. So there's a statutory determination that you're making when you lease out city property to say that it's not needed for another city purpose at this time. And so you make the finding that it's in the best interest of the city to enter into the lease rather than maintaining the city property for yourself for a different reason.
Excellent. Thank you. That's all I needed here.
This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Duquette?
Yes.
Counselor Torres?
Yes.
Counselor Spiro?
Yes.
Counselor Rule?
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you. And thank you, Sandpoint Sailing Association, for all you do. Right. We'll now move on to old business and a proposed resolution authorizing the application to a grant program for Little Sand Creek Watershed Fire Mitigation Funding. Project Manager Eric Bush will lead us in this discussion.
Good evening, councilors. This will be familiar to, I believe, everyone but Councilor Torres. I presented to City Council, Ellen Ryerson with IFM, and I did on November 5th of last year regarding some watershed fire mitigation strategies that we're looking to apply for and accept funding for. So first of all, let me take a step back and introduce Ellen Ryerson and Ryan Pennick. They're representatives from Inland Forest Management here in Sandpoint. They've been the city consulting foresters with respect to management of our watershed for 20 plus years. So they're both here to talk about kind of two individual pieces tonight that were identified in your staff report. First, I'd like to talk about some watershed funding strategies, and I'm going to invite Ellen up at this time. Hopefully everyone can see the map that's on the screen here. Just to highlight really quickly, everything outlined in red is our city watershed, the property that the city owns in the watershed property. So Schweitzer is to the top of the screen to the north, and Schweitzer Mountain Road, if you can follow my cursor, is this right here. So just to kind of orient you, this can be a little bit hard to read. So Ellen, feel free to take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Mayor, councilors, my name is Ellen Ryerson, as previously mentioned, forester with Inland Forest Management. And just to review some of the things that we discussed last time I was here in November, we're talking about wildfire hazard reduction. So what that means is really manipulating forest fuels to change expected fire behavior. So in this case, I'm going to be talking about what's called a shaded fuel break. So you're leaving the mature overstory timber intact and you're addressing the understory fuels. So ground fuels, ladder fuels, things like that, branches, shrubs, small trees, just to catch everybody up. So I've identified 4 different areas of concern in terms of fire. I'll start kind of with the wildland urban interface buffer, the top little pin at the north of the map there. As Eric said, that's where Schweitzer Mountain is. There's a lot of development occurring up there, so more houses, more people, and where people are, fires can start. So that's a concern. And, again, this is all centered around protecting the watershed and water quality and forest resiliency. So trying to prevent a fire from entering the watershed, or if a fire does start within the watershed, accessing that fire. So that's an area of concern. The second area of concern would be all the way down at the bottom of the water, the southern portion of the watershed. That is a ridge line. That ridge line experiences a lot of weather and lightning and things like that. And it is tough to access, but that's another area that we would be looking at doing some work. The third option would be roadside treatments. There was a roadside treatment done along Schweitzer Mountain Road about 10, 15 years ago. And so there's opportunities to expand on that work that's already been done. Primarily, I want to point out that kind of blue pin right at switchback 3. So that is the main haul road, kind of the main access road into the watershed. And I am proposing or exploring doing some roadside treatments along that main road as you enter the watershed for ingress and egress opportunities for fire suppression and, linear kind of fuel treatment there. And then another option is always just looking at the interior of the forest, any areas that are higher fuel loading than other areas. And so going in there, doing this kind of thinning and pruning where necessary. So we do have a $50,000 grant that has been earmarked for the city of Sandpoint through U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And that is the only thing we need to move forward on that is approval to sign an agreement with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And that agreement states, it's not put together, so Eric can walk you through the process there, but the agreement just says, yes, we will use this money for wildfire hazard reduction, and we will maintain the treatment for a period of 10 years. Essentially, the maintenance component can be pretty minimal, and it's just to make sure that we keep the forest as forest, which is obviously going to be the case. So I don't see any concerns with the maintenance agreement there.
Yeah, counselors, if I could provide a little context here. In your staff report for this item, there's kind of 3 separate components. So the first one is what Ellen just described. And the treatment that IFM and Ellen have recommended is along switchback 3. And basically adjacent to the way access to the watershed occurred during our most recent timber management activity. So that is only accepting only for the $50,000 that Ellen was just describing. Since that agreement is not put together yet, but we're told that money is ours if we accept it. Once we have the agreement, that will come back before you for review, likely on a consent item in a future city council agenda. So this component of this item is primarily just an update to city council because we discussed this in November of last year.
Mm-hmm.
If that helps clear things up. I didn't set the stage very well, so I apologize for that.
Eric, I have a question before we turn over to the council, or maybe Ellen. So in your staff report, you say you can apply for up to 300,000. I'm sure. The return on investment is amazing for the city and our residents. And
Mayor Grimm, if I may quickly, that's the second piece that Ellen's going to get to.
And I can hop into that now if we'd prefer. So yeah, already have that 50,000 earmarked. Another opportunity that the proposal period is open right now is an opportunity through the Idaho Department of Lands to apply for a grant for an amount up to 240,000. And that grant is called the Western States Fire Manager Grant. And again, it's just to do the similar work of fuels management and wildfire hazard reduction. And we would identify, during this project planning proposal development period, we would be delving in a little deeper and prioritizing these treatment options and submitting a proposal due the end of this month, so March 31st. And then, so
Is it the same match on that one, 15%?
I think Eric can expand on the match.
I can expand on that. I
situation.
apologize again for the confusion. The number in my staff report was incorrect at $300,000. The grant maximum is $240,000, what Ellen just referenced, so apologies there. That program requires a 15% match. So we could apply for up to $240,000 and the city would be required to match 15% of that. Because we're still developing what this funding may be used for, this is not a formal application to Idaho Department of Lands. It's a proposal that if we're selected via their review process, we will then further develop what our project intends to do, meaning what location, what type of treatment, that sort of thing. So the request in this agenda report tonight is for approval to apply for a proposal. And if we are accepted via Idaho Department of Lands review process, we will then further develop what that project may be, utilizing those funds, what sort of dollar value we will be formally applying for. Once we have that refined, we would then readdress City Council, update you on where we would like to do that treatment, what the final dollar amount is as we're proceeding with the process with Idaho Department of Lands. So this is a little bit different than a lot of applications we apply for capital projects, for example. This is more like a kind of a working process with Idaho Department of Lands than it is we submit a project, they fund the project, or they don't.
More of a negotiation discussion?
I think that would be accurate, yeah.
I have one more question. Are they, these IDL funds, are those restricted to the fuel reduction, or could we expand that and potentially do a fire break? Because that's what I'd really like to see up there. It scares the heck out of me to think of a fire starting on Schweitzer and coming down, or
Yeah.
versa.
Yeah, no, we can incorporate proper fire breaks. So just so everyone, so we're talking about the same, using the same verbiage. A fire break would be an actual break in fuels where you remove all fuels within a certain kind of area or swath. Whereas a shaded fuel break would be what I was discussing, addressing those understory fuels. So a fire break is an option, but it's not always ecologically necessary from a fire ecology standpoint. So that would be something we would delve into, making sure that the money that gets applied for and if funded, put on the ground is effective. Yeah. And that's something that the Idaho Department of Lands is very adamant about, is that these treatments are strategic and effective. Yeah.
Councilors, any questions at this time?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Duquette.
I guess not really a question, just a comment that leaving the big trees, that is a fuel break. Because if a fire goes through there, it's not necessarily going to torch those older trees.
Yeah, that's the intent, would be to keep the fire on the ground so that fire suppression personnel are able to more effectively fight it without aerial resources. But again, all of this is to say this is within expected fire behavior scenarios.
Yeah.
So there are going to be scenarios with high winds or other types of weather events that we may see fire behavior act outside of what we would expect, which everything's out the window at that point. But yes, but exactly to your point, Counselor, that is the intent, would be to keep the fire on the ground.
How wide a fire break?
It depends on slope. So the steeper the slope, the more area you're going to want to look at. But I would say for a roadside treatment, downslope, you could get away with even 30 feet. Upslope, you want to go towards 75 feet on a steep, on like a 45% slope. Yeah.
And councilors, just to add, I think it's important that we frame our understanding of fire protection of our watershed property with, there is no one size fits all approach. You can't just clear 100 yards along ridges and say, we're good. This is a multi-pronged approach. So part of it is utilizing the Fish and Wildlife money along Switchback 3. Part of it is the project that we would develop if we're selected for the Idaho Department of Lands funding. There's other strategies that we would like to take in the future with additional funding. This is kind of a step in the right direction more than you can say it is we're protected now. And I don't know that, I'd defer to Ellen, but I don't know that there's any solution that you would say we're totally protected at this point. Fires are fires, and they, kind of do what they want depending on the conditions.
Yeah.
Great.
I would say it's a tool in the tool belt of forest management.
I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution authorizing an application to Western States Fire Manager's Wildland Urban Interface Grant Program for Little Sand Creek Watershed Fire Mitigation Fund.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Schreiber?
I did have some question.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
When you say along turn 3, are you talking along the paved road that's open to the public, or are you talking past the paved road onto the timber road that's generally closed to the public?
I would be discussing, or I'm looking at past the paved road. The paved portion has actually been treated, not between 2 and 3, but past turn 3. And it's grown in because it was 10, 15 years ago, but it is still, I would say, more effective than if a fire were to have started interior off the pavement. And this off the pavement treatment would be really informed by the fire protection districts and the Idaho Department of Lands, who would be responding to a fire within interior of the watershed. And if that feels like it would be beneficial to them, which I have gotten confirmation that it would be for safety to get in and out and stage resources interior to the watershed. So that's kind of the intent behind that treatment, would be safety, ingress, egress.
Excellent. That sounds great.
Councilor Schreiber, just for clarification, this is switchback 3, where my cursor is, where the area Ellen's referencing is this black and white dotted line through here, just past it.
Got it. And yeah, I really like the idea of creating safe ingress and egress for firefighters. And that was one of the things that was attractive to me for the Ridgeline fuel break, was that there is commercial timberland on the other side of that ridgeline, and perhaps if we connected to their forest roads, it would create a situation where firefighters in our watershed could flee over the ridgeline to their land, or vice versa. Firefighters fighting fires on their land could flee into our watershed, which what we saw over last summer was that there were some fires that firefighters didn't really want to engage because there was no egress. And so having that egress could create a situation where the fire gets addressed sooner when it's still small, because they're willing to go in there because there's a safe way back out. So I would voice support for that Ridgeline project, as well as the shaded fuel break as opposed to just a straight clear-cut fuel break, because the evidence that you presented back in November I thought was pretty compelling, that those shaded fuel breaks are pretty effective. And it's essentially leaving the most fire resilient and drought resilient trees while getting rid of all the stuff that turns into tinder pretty quickly. As for the Wildland Urban Interface project, that was further up the slope above turn 5, is that correct?
It's a little even higher than that, if you mind scrolling up, Eric. There you go. Kind of what I would be looking at would be right in that kind of corner just south. Yep, right there. Right. And then from that property corner to the next to the east. Yep. So,
excellent.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just below a ridge, which is, interesting. And from a fire fuels perspective, right, we can only treat within our property boundary. So you can do your best within that. Ideally, you put fuel breaks along ridge lines, but the next best thing would be your property boundary line. So it would be just below the slope there, the ridge. Yeah.
Have you talked to that property owner about maybe combining forces at all?
Not yet, but that would be absolutely critical, I would say, during the, so after the project proposal period. And if, as Eric said, when the project is selected, you really flesh these ideas out and then submit a proper proposal for a project. So that's something I would flesh out really with not only the adjacent landowners, because fire doesn't care about property boundaries. So we can, it's most effective when you can treat multiple landowners or get more buy-in from your neighbors. So that would be a component of the project that we would definitely flesh out at that point.
That's excellent. I think if
Yeah.
I'm
And
if I'm looking at
speaking,
this, oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry, not to interrupt, but working again, I mentioned earlier, working with the fire protection districts. So Schweitzer, Selkirk, Sandpoint, Idaho Department of Lands, that's going to be key too, is getting input from the actual folks who are going to be on the ground fighting fire, because that's really impactful, getting their concerns and their priorities as well, so that those can be aligned with the watershed management priorities. Yeah.
Perfect. I think that's all I've got.
I'd entertain a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the application of Western State Fire Managers Wildland Urban Interface Grant Program for Little Sand Creek Watershed Fire Mitigation Funding.
So moved. Third.
Moved by Counselor Duquette, second by Counselor Schreiber. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Schreiber?
Yes.
Counselor Spiro?
Yes.
Counselor Rule?
Yes.
Counselor Duquette?
Yes.
Counselor Torres?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the proposed resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with IPS Group.
Mayor Grimm, we had one more
I am
update.
sorry. Thank you.
In this item. Ryan Pennick, the other member of Inland Forest Management that I mentioned, is here to provide an update to City Council on watershed management activities generally. And this is in kind of coordination and compliance with the Little Sand Creek Timber Management Plan. So Ryan, feel free to take it away.
Hey, Ryan, thanks.
Thanks, Mayor. And
Tell us what you're up to up there.
Yep, appreciate you having us out here and updating you on what we got going on. Like you said, I'm Ryan Pinnock. I work for Inland Forest Management as a consulting forester and have been managing your property in the watershed for the last 10 years or so at this point. Eric, do you have the other map available? Thank you. So this will look familiar. It's just the interior there, switchback 3 and 5 on your right-hand side. These are just some areas we've identified, along with what you've already heard, some fire-prone areas that we could do a little bit more management in, as well as some other areas that could use some forest management attention. One of those areas would be that orange polygon you see up there in the middle off of switchback 5. All those yellow trees in there are larch. And so that's another one of those areas we like to promote, all the western larch out there when we can. There's also western white pine out there. Those are two of our preferred species out in the watershed that we really want to promote. This area is pretty overgrown in other places too, so it's time to do some thinning in there. The other side of that would, on the east edge there, north of that green polygon, would be another area we'd continue more of those fuel breaks we talked about. The neighboring property, I think it's Husky Management or SMP, has done some nice thinning through there around switchback 5. You can see from the road, it would be a lot of a continuation of that, more fire protection through there. And then if you look to the green polygon there, that's actually a unit we harvested in 2001 and replanted in 2002. And this area was what we call seed treed. So we left a number of scattered western larch and Doug fir out there, but over time they have fallen apart. They're now diseased and dying. The western larch has severe to moderate mistletoe infections, and the Doug fir is dying of root disease. So we need to remove those overstory trees there. And then the second phase of that is to protect the young western larch and western white pine that we've planted in there 20 years ago. They're now 20, 25 feet tall, but severely overcrowded with natural regeneration of less preferred species, grand fir, lodgepole, and hemlock specifically. So we need to promote the investment the city put into planting those seedlings, thin them out. That'll be the year following harvest. And then the other opportunity that this opens up is the blue dots and the yellow triangle are some road improvement areas we need to get to in there. There's some ditch repair we could work on and a road washout that we need to address. And by going into these road systems to do some management in there, then we could address those at the same time. And then the third area will be this yellow polygon at the bottom, which we've referred bridge fuel break area. And this would be a continuation of that same fire hazard reduction primarily. Trees are overgrown in there. We'd create a nice, I guess if you want to think of it, shaded fuel break. We thin the trees out, get the crowns discontinuous from each other, create space, and that'll just allow any fire activity to hopefully, like we've talked about, stay on the ground there and not get into a crown fire situation, which is much harder to suppress. This would also likely open up the opportunity to increase access for that safe ingress and egress we've been talking about. So if the IDL or local fire districts need to respond to an incident in there where the fire suppression, then they have a safe way of getting in and out of there. So those are our kind of future management areas we've identified at this time and would like to move forward with in the future and answer any questions any of you may have.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Questions from the council?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Duquette?
I just have a curiosity question. Where did we go last year when we went up there to see what had been logged?
Great question. Eric, would you mind going back to the main, zoomed the other map, please? Yes, thank you. So, we lost it. I think we switched maps. There you go. So you see those, yep, exactly. Thank you, Eric. So we went all the way up Switchback 3 Road, which we've talked about doing some, with that $50,000, doing an interior fuel break there. We went all the way in, and then those seed tree areas that you see with little brown patches right now where Eric's cursor are, that is where we went on that field tour, just to give you a perspective of where we're talking out there. Yeah.
And counselors, the management activities that Ryan recommended are in compliance with the Little Sand Creek Timber Management Plan. So the plan identifies doing management activities every 2 years. The first one, adjacent kind of to the west of Switchback 5, is the one that Ryan would be working on this year, to be bid this fall most likely, and then occur next spring and next summer. And then the following one, the one that is down in this area, would be 3 years from now. So these are not, the first one is in the works right now. The second one is the following management activity in coordination and compliance with our management plan and master plan.
And Ryan, has that been replanted yet, the one we?
Yes, it was. Yep, it was planted in 2024. Yep. Or no, excuse me, 2025, spring of 25.
Say couldn't be.
Yep, spring of 25.
I'm gonna call you on it.
Yeah.
Last year.
Other council questions? Go ahead, Councilor Schreiber.
Yeah, if you could go back to that other map. So the orange polygon is what you're talking about doing this year.
That's the plan, correct?
Okay. And I'm looking at the timber management plan. It shows some of the priority 4 shows a couple spots on the west side of that. That's a class 1 stream right there, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. How do you plan on accessing those? Are we going to use the roads that were built when we accessed that green polygon?
Yes, a combination of roads. So
Okay.
good question. Yes, we would have to reuse that road that goes above the 2019 harvest unit you see there and into the green polygon, correct? That would be one road system we would use. We would also go to the west and reuse that road system with the blue dots on it that and then off and across. Yep, and then right there would be a little bit of road reconstruction to get into the western end of that orange polygon, correct?
Gotcha. Do you foresee anything affecting that class 1 stream at all? Any road building or?
Pretty early to say. We're in the planning stages, so haven't really identified, specific crossings other than a couple where I've, had some thought on. But at this point, no, we don't need to necessarily be within that class 1 stream that I can see.
Okay.
We can manage it from both sides as long as we get the, talk to, I think it's, like I said, Schweitzer Mountain Properties there from Switchback 5 to access the property that we own to the west of theirs.
Yeah. Do you foresee any road systems crossing that boundary between our property and the neighboring property there?
Well, yes, there's the road that comes off of Switchback 5, if that's what you mean. There's
Oh,
about
okay.
1,000 feet, yep, right there, maybe 1,000 feet, not even, that we'll have to get a temporary easement to cross that and access that.
Sure, okay.
Yep, and the road's already in place.
All right, so not really any new road building.
Hard to say. Like I said, at this stage, we're still in the planning reconnaissance stage, so
Mhm.
we'll see what road building may or may not be necessary to get in there. The benefit of building road is you reduce skidding distances,
Mhm.
right? And that kind of disturbance, but
Sure.
hard to say at this stage.
Gotcha. Okay. The reason I ask is I had a conversation with that neighboring property owner, and he showed me some pretty well-developed plans for roads and trail systems that cross into our boundaries. So I was just wondering if any of these were planned to be reused in any way.
Councilman Schreiber, I would just say, I think that's an opportunity we could talk about. I don't, know if that makes sense right now, but mutual use or, access to the watershed is obviously something that we support. So if you want to talk about that later, I'd love to visit with you about opportunities or concerns you might have. If we could either facilitate that or restrict it, whatever your thoughts are.
Okay. Yeah, I would just ask that council be brought up to speed on anything that happens on that front. Thanks.
Absolutely, yeah, let us know. That sounds great.
Any other questions for Ryan at this time? Other than a big thanks, you two do and your team do an amazing job for us. You're renowned throughout the West, and we're lucky to have such skilled folks managing our, was it 6,000 acres, 5,000?
7,000.
7,000 acres of land up there. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mayor Grimm, are we able to take a brief recess before the next agenda item?
We sure can. Let's take a 5-minute break at 7:26. Right, we are going to reconvene our council meeting at 7:33 p.m. Not sure who has control of the screen, but we're going to move on to item 15. The proposed resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with IPS Group for the implementation of the parking management system. And again, Director Welker will be guiding us down this path.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We are joined by Russell Robinson of the IPS Group on Zoom. He will likely be joining us here in a moment. If we can share his screen. We share his screen, or we? Oh, there we go. There's Russell. Say hi to Russell, everybody.
Good evening,
Russell's
Russell.
joining us from the far-off land of Rathdrum, Idaho, where he lives. We were actually fortunate. It was totally coincidental, but of the multiple submissions we had for proposals for parking implementation, Russell's firm, IPS, was selected, and he just happens to be the Northwest or the Western region representative for them. So he's been assigned to us. He was here in person yesterday, met with all the department heads, with our police officers who oversee enforcement of parking, and he's going to be here to answer questions for you. But I'm going to do a brief introduction. I don't have a PowerPoint for you tonight, so I'm just going to go through some big picture items to remind you of where we landed on June 18th last year when we adopted our parking management plan. The policy was adopted on June 18th as part of our parking management plan, following 6 months approximately of community engagement, multiple meetings at the planning and zoning level, meetings with the downtown, 2 or 3 meetings with downtown business association, property owners who we contacted by mail, invited to Marigold Bistro, Chamber of Commerce, Rotary Club, every group we could get in front of, we met with to present. We also did a survey that received over 1,800 responses, 935 of whom claimed to be City of Sandpoint residents on the survey. Never know on a survey, of course, but pretty good sample size, one of the larger response rates to any survey we've done at the city in my time here. I'm going to go over the overall objectives of the parking management plan that you approved last year, and then get into some of the details about how the proposed contract with the IPS Group helps fulfill the objectives of the parking management plan. I also, after hearing some questions and comments from the public at the beginning of the meeting, have some answers to some of those. So I'm glad Kevin stuck around, and we also have received some questions via voicemail and email and Facebook comment that I've gathered some answers to as well. So I'm hoping to get all your questions answered tonight along with the public's, so that you feel comfortable authorizing the mayor to move forward, and Cheryl, our contracts administrator, director, to move forward with a contract with IPS Group. First of all, overall objectives of the parking management plan. I'm going to go through those here with you. The objectives of the plan adopted last year were to improve turnover and access to parking in the downtown core, to ensure compliance with the existing 2-hour time limits, to implement paid parking in city-owned off-street lots to better manage demand, to provide structured permit options for employees, residents, both city and county, marina slip holders, and residents of the downtown core, people who live within the downtown core full-time. And really important, keep enforcement compliant with Idaho law. We have some limitations that actually really made it difficult, believe it or not, to come up with a solution that allows us to accomplish these other objectives. Idaho law prohibits the use of automated license plate reader technology, ALPR. And believe it or not, most of the modern parking enforcement systems include automated license plates readers. So we had to get very creative on how to make it as frictionless, as easy as possible for parkers without using the technology that many cities around the country are using these days. So there's several phases to the implementation that I'm going to go over with you now. Phase 1 is strengthened compliance with 2-hour on-street limits. This plan, this proposal that we're finalizing right now, does not include paid street parking downtown. It allows downtown shoppers to park for free, downtown employees to park for free. Anybody who wants to come downtown in the 2-hour zone can park for free for 2 hours. That's very important to understand. So it does so by installing kiosks within the 2-hour zones, which covers around 250 or so spaces in our downtown core. The kiosk we've selected is the IPS MSX multi-space kiosk. Each kiosk will serve approximately 10 street stalls. Drivers will enter their license plate number at the kiosk. If they choose to skip the kiosk, there will be signage allowing them to text by or pay by text or to pay by app. There's an app that Russell can tell you a little bit more about. And once they have begun their 2-hour session of free parking, they can go off and do their business downtown. After the 2 hours is up, they have options. They can come move their vehicle out of the 2-hour zone, or unlike under our current code and regulations, they can extend beyond the 2 hours by choosing to pay for additional time. That is something we don't currently allow. Currently, if you stay beyond your 2 hours, you get a $50 ticket, which elevates to $100 and $150 for your second and third ticket. So we are now giving those who need additional time downtown the option to stay beyond the 2 hours allotted. But it's very important to understand this is the solution we came up with, absent license plate reader technology, absent very expensive eye-in-the-sky LiDAR technology that scans all the street spots, putting a little bit of burden on the parker to engage with either an app on their phone, text a number to begin their free 2-hour session, or check in at a kiosk to begin their free 2-hour session. So what this allows is enforcement officers to use handheld mobile tools integrated with the IPS system to track dwell time digitally without chalking tires, which is a very time-consuming, labor-intensive method that we have used in the past, or monitoring the location of valve stems, which is how we currently track dwell time, and easily identify overstays efficiently and consistently. Okay? The result is going to be more predictable and consistent turnover on our high-demand downtown core parking stalls. This is not about increasing penalties. It is about ensuring existing 2-hour limits function as intended to serve customers and short-term visitors. We had many, many downtown business owners in here, and the message they sent was that they want us to improve our enforcement of 2-hour time limits. This is the best method we could come up with our IPS partners, with many other firms that we interviewed, for improving enforcement in our downtown core without using extremely expensive or law-breaking technology like automated license plate readers. Phase 2 is the parking permit program for multiple permit options. We've got city resident permits, we've got county resident permits, we've got downtown employee permits, downtown resident permits, people who live full-time, and marina slip holder permits, allowing each of these permit categories allow privileges that reduce friction and make it super easy for permit holders to come into town without having to check in at a kiosk and park up to, in some cases, 24 hours. If you're a downtown resident, your pass gives you 24-hour parking. If you're a marina slip holder, you can leave your car at the Windbag or City Beach lot overnight without fear of getting a ticket, which is not even currently allowed in code. City residents and county residents, a big change proposed tonight from the final parking management plan in June of last year is that we are now proposing pretty much all-day parking for any permit holder with a city or county resident permit. The original approved plan proposed 2 to 3 hours for county residents in our off-street lots and 3 to 6 hours for city residents. We're now proposing 8 hours across the board. If you buy your $15 annual pass, you get all-day parking in our city lots and our City Beach lot, our waterfront lots downtown. If you buy the $30 county resident pass, you get all-day parking downtown. Quite a deal. Comparable cities like Coeur d'Alene charge the same rates as we are proposing for annual passes, but only allow 2 hours across the board at their city lots downtown and their City Beach lot. And I'm sure Russell can confirm that. He's very familiar with the Coeur d'Alene paid parking system. Let's see, I've got one more phase here. Oh, and another decision we made just yesterday in consultation with our police is that a visual display permit is preferred. There is a cost that's associated with that, but the ease of enforcement, think of the dump sticker, the ease, no one has to come out and check my license plate when I pull into the dump over on Upland Drive, which I do every week now since I live in the county. Rather, an enforcement officer can just look in the window. If there's a city resident, county resident, downtown business employee pass, that permit will give the pass holder certain benefits depending on what zone they're in. No ticket needed. No need to check the license plate. Super efficient, smooth. Permits in the window are heavily preferred by our police. Okay. And the intent of the permit program, to shift long-term parkers, employees, residents out of the prime 2-hour zones so that those spaces are available for customers for downtown businesses. This is ultimately about freeing up occupancy for customers of downtown businesses. You'll recall an appendix of our parking management plan was our 2022 parking study done by Kittleson Associates engineers. They determined that the average duration of stay in the 2-hour zone in the summer of 2022 was 5 hours. That is a failed parking system. Businesses were struggling largely because occupancy was at 97% during the midweek hours downtown, meaning that those customers who were trying to come in and spend money could not find parking and just left, drove to Ponderay instead. We're trying to make parking more convenient, more available, increase access to downtown businesses. We do that by creating incentives for those employees to move 3 blocks out of town where they can park all day with their downtown employee pass. Phase 3, paid parking in the city lots. So there was a question asked by one of the, I think Ms. Pardini at the top of the meeting, how many spots do we have in our lots downtown? We know exactly how many spots we have. We have 505 off-street parking stalls across about 5 parking facilities. More than half of those are the City Beach lot. 128 of them are at the city lot at 3rd and Church. And then we have smaller lots at Bridge Street before you get to City Beach. We've got the Windbag Marina, Dock Street lot, which is about 49 stalls, and we have about 11 stalls at the Ponderay Bay Trail lot. So we have very good data on this. That's what's informed our decision of how many kiosks we need to serve these lots. So paid parking will be implemented in selected city lots, including the lot 3 blocks serving these lots will require installation of IPS kiosks and signage to provide the option for text to pay or pay by app. The kiosks, as you're going to see, are very sleek. They're touchscreen. They take tap. They take all forms of credit cards, and they allow us to set the rates, the hourly rates, remotely. They don't have to be programmed individually. They all integrate with the IPS system, and they provide real-time reporting and dashboards to monitor utilization and compliance. The intent is to better manage high-demand parking assets, fund system operations, and encourage appropriate use of available parking supply. So that's kind of the overview. I have answers to some questions that came up. Would you like to hear those, or do you have questions yourself you'd like to ask? Before we move on. Or maybe you have questions for Russell, who's joining us here. Been doing this for a lot longer than me.
Councilor Spiro.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to hear those answers, and maybe they'll be with our questions answered. Real quick, I just want to make sure I understand you properly. Jason said that if a city resident or Bonner County resident bought a $30 a year or $15 a year pass, they could park unlimited everywhere?
Not unlimited. So we don't allow overnight parking on street.
No, but you said all day.
Right, 8 hours is the time frame that a pass provides.
So, and then a business pass is $40 a month for an employee. So
Big difference. Those parking permits for city and county residents are only good in the off-street lots, right? You can, of course, park free on any street stall in Sandpoint. There's 700 and some street stalls in Sandpoint, but you can't stay for 8 hours in a street stall. You run the risk of getting a ticket if you overstay the 2, 3, or 4 hour time limit. So a downtown business employee, a lot of downtown businesses are not located super close to the city parking lot. They might want to park on the street closer to where they work. To have that privilege, a $40 a month parking pass is proposed.
and then the $15 for a local. But we can't park First Avenue.
Oh, you absolutely can.
For 8 hours. No, okay.
We do not want.
If that's the 6 hour, that's the 6 hour one, right?
I don't think even a First Avenue business owner would propose having a permit that would allow 8 hour.
That's what I'm just making sure. Okay.
That's precisely what we're trying to prevent.
Okay. My other question was, let's say I'm a city resident, I have the $15 yearly pass, and I just want to park First Avenue. I don't have to use the app, correct? That's what the sticker would be for? Or do I have to sign in on when I parked? Like, I'm thinking my wife has 4 kids, or they're getting out of the car. Like, what's that process going to look like for her? Or if I have the 4 kids and I don't have my wife and my brain's gone.
In the 2 hour zone?
Yeah, let's say First Avenue. She wants to go down First Avenue. What does that look like for her? We have a $15 year pass.
That pass is only good in the lots, first of all.
Okay.
Correct. So remember, the goal here is to increase turnover.
I understand that, but just walk me through the process.
First of all, with better enforcement, you're likely to find a spot on First Avenue when you need it. That's the first thing to keep in mind. Is the whole point here is to increase availability and access to parking, whereas currently it's extremely hard to find those premium First Avenue spots after 9 in the morning. When you pull into a spot, you'll see a kiosk within, 5 vehicle spaces on average, probably, because there's going to be 1 per 10. So you're going to, imagine there's 10 spaces. There's a kiosk right in the middle of those 10. So you'll see a kiosk and signage that allows you to go enter your license plate number to begin your 2 hour free session. Or you can just check in via mobile app as well.
So she'd have to remember to check in, right?
Correct.
And if let's say she forgot or I forgot,
then that's where there's the risk that an enforcement officer comes by, just like there is now. If you overstay 2 hours and an enforcement officer comes by, you'll get a $50 ticket.
Let's say that it's within the 2 hours, but we forgot to sign.
If someone fails to begin their 2 hour session, they're considered a violator. Just like if you don't pay to park, except we're not charging to park. You just have to check in.
Okay.
Now, the alternative is license plate readers are really good at doing this, but they're illegal. Right. We also explored this sensor technology that you could install up on poles that could scan spaces and begin sessions automatically when people check in. That was going to cost the city approximately $123,000 per year.
So is there a pass or something where we don't even have to think about that? We just pull up on First Avenue and we can just get out of our car and go shopping?
That's what LPR or sensor technology would do.
But we don't have
the use of sensors. That technology is not available.
Okay, so we have to be very alert when we're parking. If I want to go get some ice cream at Pan.
Oh, yes. I mean, just like if you were, when we were kids, there were, until 1990, I think there were parking meters on First Avenue. If you were to pull up to one of those parking meters, the signal, you got to feed the meter or you run the risk of getting the ticket. In this case, you don't feed the meter. You just enter your license plate, begin your free session. You don't need to scan a credit card or anything.
Councilman Espiro, I sat in on all these interviews and rankings, and one of the things, I had a similar question, and they said is for a local who's used this app, it basically remembers. So you just literally flip it open, it knows who you are, where you are, what car you're in, and you just say check in. It's like after you do it the first time, it's a really quick interface.
I just have one more question then. So there was some concern about Farm Flats, for example. They're going to take up a lot of parking space. I've heard it from multiple people, but now they're going to have to be required to either pay or what's that going to look like? For, let's say every person in that building had a car.
Well, we did have some planning commissioners who did the math for us. And they said if the developer had been required to provide an off-street garage, for example, we know the cost of structured parking is around $50,000 per stall in the current construction economy. And if you had amortized that down to a monthly cost, that monthly cost is around $160 a month. So if you want to put what is the market price of off-street parking in downtown Sandpoint for a structure like an apartment building, it's around $160 per month. Obviously, that's untenable for a lot of lower wage, workforce housing type things that might be paying the $1,000 rent that they're likely to offer there for a 350 square foot apartment. But the proposal in the adopted parking management plan last June was for an $80 per month downtown resident pass, which would give downtown residents access to 24-hour parking in our downtown core, where currently that's not something you can do. So that's what was adopted last June, and that's kind of the proposal. Now, are they required to buy that? No. Nobody in the city is going to come knocking and say, hey, you rented this apartment, now you have to buy a parking permit.
So either
there's free parking 2 blocks away. There's 113 stalls in the ITD lots, which we're not enforcing. We don't charge. Anybody can park there overnight, any time of the year. That's 2 blocks from Farm and Flats. My guess is most residents will choose to park there.
So they're going to kind of be pushed if they don't want a parking pass, somebody like that way.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Or they run the risk of getting tickets if they overstay their 4-hour time limit or 3-hour time limit. It's a struggle that all cities face when it
Right. I'm just trying to process. I appreciate all of that.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Thanks, Councilor Spiro. Other council questions?
And just a reminder, I do have all these questions from the public.
Yeah.
I'm happy to answer.
I kind of like, because they may preempt some of the council questions. Run through them, Jason.
I'd like to hear that.
Would you guys like to hear answers to this?
Yeah.
Okay. So first question from Mr. Quinder. Has the city reversed the policy adopted following community engagement and now proposing paid on-street parking? No. We're proposing 2 hours free parking, 3 hours free parking, 4 hours free parking, same that we have now. The technology is being used to enforce the 2-hour time limit because we heard from business owners that that's what they preferred. They said, don't start charging, just do a better job of enforcement. So we're not proposing adding back adding back paid parking because there was historically paid parking on First Avenue. We're not proposing that now. The difference is if you overstay 2 hours, you have the option to pay whatever we settle on in our fee schedule, $2, $3 for your 3rd hour, for your 4th hour, as opposed to just risk getting a ticket like you are now. You'll get a $50 ticket if you stay beyond 2 hours now. Do city resident passes provide free on-street parking? Yes. All on-street parking is free for all people, no matter where they're from. The employee and resident passes allow for the overstay of the 3 and 4 hour time limits. That's what the difference is. That's what the value is for a $40 pass versus a $15 annual pass, is they can stay all day in the 3 and 4 hour zones. Resident passes allow overnight parking. How many spaces are there in off-street lots downtown? I think I answered that 505. That was Ms. Pardini's question. Some questions we've received via phone, email, and Facebook. What are the visitors going to be charged? We don't know yet. That's going to be in our fee schedule, which will be adopted on May 15th or May 17th, I believe, is the date scheduled to hear the fee schedule. That's going to be up to you all. We're going to make some suggestions based on our conversations with staff, with the police especially. I want to thank Lieutenant Ernie, who's been my partner on this whole thing. He's been literally in every meeting for the last several months about parking. He's the community resource officer supervisor. So Lieutenant Ernie's been at every one of these meetings. He's an equal partner in all this, along with the police chief and the mayor and everybody else who's been involved. So we will propose some fees, and ultimately it will be up to you to decide what the hourly rates are in our off-street lots. Why is this? This is one I got. Why is the city requiring marina slip holders to buy a separate parking permit? We are not. We are not requiring it. The marina holder permit is optional. It provides 24-hour parking in the Windbag and City Beach lots. Slip holders may choose to pay the hourly rate in these lots. They could just use their city resident permit and park for 8 hours in those lots. If they're a county resident, they could use their county resident permit and park for 8 hours in those lots. It's purely optional. If you're somebody who likes to go on a long journey down to Bottle Bay, or it's not that long. What's the one on the south end, like Gart? No.
Bayview.
Let me try again. Bayview. Or you like to go overnight out to Hope or up the Clark Fork River, chances are you might need to leave your car for 3 or 4 days. In our prime waterfront lot, that's where the privilege of having a marina slip holder pass comes into play. But no marina slip holder will be required to buy a pass. And we did hear a lot of feedback that $150 seemed high, so the proposal is to lower that to $100. But it's purely optional. It's not an add-on. We're not gouging our marina slip holders. We're giving them the option if they want to leave their car for multiple days to have that privilege.
but then that also allows them to park at the city beach, right?
Correct.
For unlimited.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Of course, city residents or even some county residents always have the option to leave their cars at home and walk or ride their bike to the marina and not worry about this at all. How are you going to treat part-time residents? Can they get a parking pass at the cost of full-time residents? So permits are going to be tied to license plates. License plates are tied to addresses. If you have a license plate with a Sandpoint city address, you're eligible for a $15 permit. If you have a license plate with a county address, you're eligible for a $30 permit. We're not going to chase them down and say, how many months a year do you live in Bonner County? That's absolutely not something we're interested in doing. There was a question about revenue estimates. There is an appendix to our adopted plan from last summer that includes robust, about 7 pages of tables showing how revenues were estimated for this program. So I encourage members of the public who want to know that to look at tonight's council packet, because those numbers are all in there. I will provide just a brief snapshot here because we have some good numbers. I'm going to share my screen. Just today, we finalized the permit cost to the city. What does it cost the city to administer a permit program? And I want to thank Russell for getting this together really quickly after our meeting yesterday. It's coming up on the screen here. I'll make it larger so you can see it. On the left is the cost to the city for every permit that we sell to a city resident, to a county resident, to a downtown business employee, how it breaks down. So we're looking at $14.50 per permit sold. The adopted, in our current adopted fee schedule, the permit fee, and this was quite coincidental, I have to say, was $15 for city residents. So the city stands to, quote, profit 50 cents per parking permit hold sold to a city resident. Okay, that's not a profit, really. If we sold 1,000 parking permits to city residents next year, we would net $500. This is not about making money for the city. The idea here is that those permit holders are going to have extreme benefits in the form of better access to parking than they've ever experienced at City Beach in recent years, because all the tourists who don't hold permits are going to be paying the hourly rate down there. So the benefit of a $15 pass is going to be better access to parking at our most valued waterfront parking lots in downtown city lot. So this is the net revenue per permit sold. And I have no idea how many permits we'll sell, but I did just a little scenario here. I said in year 2, because I always are, just like we learned with the sports center, you don't base your revenue models in year 1 off of much at all, because it's going to take time for these programs to get off the ground. So assuming year 2, we had 1,000 city residents buy a pass at $15, we would realize $500 of net revenue. 1,000 Bonner County residents would realize this $15,000 of net revenue. When you get to the downtown employee and monthly downtown resident passes, obviously much higher net revenues, because those are much higher costs to the purchasers. And then I conservatively estimated 50 marina slip holder passes sold at $100. And on that scenario, just through our permit program, we would realize $206,000 of net revenues, minus all the fees that we'd be paying.
Not including the hourly rate that.
I've not even begun to consider the hour. I mean, I have in the fee calculations or the revenue calculations in our appendix. I went through scenarios where we had X number of visitors based on visitor numbers we measured in the summer of 2022. So a couple $100,000 more dollars in hourly parking revenues from tourists is not unreasonable to expect. Of course, I always said in year 2, because in year 1, we don't know exactly where we'll be come summer this year. There's always an education component with these programs. So take this with a grain of salt. It's just based on, some random numbers I estimated. But because people asked, they wanted to know, is this something that is actually going to be profitable? I've seen some comments saying, we're going to end up spending more to administer this program than we're going to earn from revenues. Highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. So I'll let Russell talk a little bit more about that. He's done this in cities all over the country. But if you have any questions for me, please let me know. Otherwise, we can introduce Russell here. And
Counselor, should we let Russell go and then?
Yes,
can have all your
absolutely.
questions? Hey, Russell, thanks for being with us and thanks for all your hard work on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for allowing me to be a part of this. Thank you, council members and mayor, for having me. As a local county member, very excited to see parking improve in your community. And I'm happy to be a part of this project. So thank you for allowing us to partner with you. Is there anything specific that you guys would like me to speak on?
Russell, could you just talk a little bit about where IPS offers your services? Like, tell us a little bit about the company.
Yep. So we are a US based company. We are actually headquarters down in San Diego. There's 200 employees actually on site in San Diego. So we do development, manufacturing, support, everything down actually on site. And the benefits of that is that we have faster shipping times, lower shipping costs, and individuals that are available to you on the same time zone. So that is where we're based. And we're also spread out across all 50 states in the United States with municipalities, higher education, and private operators.
Russell, do you have the ability to show the council what the kiosk looks like, or I
will
guess
do
that's
that right now.
Oh,
My question, getting down.
One moment there. Russell, I'm going to take over the screen from you again.
Sure. Looks like you're going to win the race.
There it is.
nice.
This is the IPS multi-space kiosk. They're right around $3,900 per unit. They are, I think, yeah, pretty standard.
Can't see.
Russell, what are some cities that you have deployed these in?
We're across the US, so we're in Seattle, Denver, Colorado Springs. Those are a lot of realistically climate adjacent to you. We've got some very similar models up in Anchorage, Juneau, Alaska. So we're able to actually support with solar panels on the sides of the units and on the top, a constant power supply to the battery to be allowed these to operate without having land shore power plugged into them. So that actually saves you a lot of infrastructure cost. We also have a built-in cellular modem that we supply the connectivity to. We have contracts with hundreds of thousands of units, so we have a preferred rate with those carriers. So it's a self-contained unit, and it's able to communicate, be self-efficient because of that.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
is it Mr. Russell? Okay.
Robinson, Mr.
Russell Robinson.
Russell Robinson. Okay, there was lots of R's there. I didn't know
Yeah.
your first name or your last name. My question would be, what app interface is your company using? Is there a name to it, or?
Absolutely. Yeah, we named it Park Smarter. That is the application. We also have a text-to-pay solution, which is by coincidence called Text-to-Pay. That's the actual name of it. That's trademarked. If you'd like, I can speak to the benefits of either or and how it interacts with the public.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Smith?
I would like to hear that.
Yes, please, Russell.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, it's a little bit quiet.
Yeah, speak into your
Please.
microphones, everybody.
Please,
Absolutely.
tell us about it.
Yeah, so the benefits of a mobile application for parking is that it gives your power users, individuals that actually live in the community, that park quite frequently downtown or any of these areas that require payment. It allows them to have an account that's already set up, credit cards attached to that. We meet level 1 compliance for PCI compliance, which is the highest compliance, so their credit cards are safe being stored. But the benefit is that they don't have to go in and every time enter that information if they want to park. And their favorite zones, areas, and everything are already pre-saved. Now, if you have an individual that's coming to visit, which you have a lot of visitors, they don't have to download an application just to park one time if they're visiting. They can just simply text a number, and that will bring them to a URL that allows them to start a parking session without downloading anything or setting up an account. That's extremely important. We've actually seen a substantial utilization of text-to-pay since we launched it a few years ago. It's actually outpacing our mobile application because a lot of the cities we deploy in have so many visitors that utilize parking compared to just the residents alone.
So Russell, could you just, I know this, but could you just speak? So you text the number, you get the URL back instantly, you click on that, you enter your license plate number, if I recall, and then you just, if you have a permit, it recognizes you. If not, you can do an Apple Pay or anything off your phone. Is that generally it?
Yeah, so if you have a permit, there's no need to log into the app or use text-to-pay. You're already documented with our back office, and that will also be communicated to the parking enforcement handheld. So did that answer your question? Well, I apologize if there was a second part to that.
If you don't have a permit, can you just walk through the steps that somebody would have to, you get the URL link, you click on that.
Yep, absolutely. So if you don't have a permit and you want to park, you either go to the kiosk where you enter your license plate, select the amount of time. You get 2 hours free, as was mentioned. If you want to go past that, that is when we start to charge for a fee. Then we have the other option, which is mobile pay, which is classified as a mobile application, and text to pay. The workflow specifically for text to pay is you text a zone number to our number. That sends you immediately a link to your mobile phone. You access that link and you enter in your credit card information and the amount of time that you want to pay for. And then once that payment has gone through, you will get another text message with the receipt and the amount of a link back to that active session so you can see how much time is left that's available in your parking session. From there, if the regulations allow you to, you can extend your time if that falls within the rules in that specific zone. So it's very beneficial that you're digitally receiving your receipt, have the ability to extend that time. You don't have to leave that web browser open on your mobile phone. You will actually receive that link back in text or an email if you choose that as well, where you can re-access your parking session. Now, on the mobile application, it differs because you don't need to enter an email or a phone number because you already have that app in session live on your phone. That app is already tracking your sessions, past sessions, current sessions, and will also automatically give you reminders of when your session is going to expire because you have an account and it is an account-based solution, if that makes sense.
So you have fixed because on your reviews for the app, it does say that there's an issue with the reminder for the person. So like the person went out and it didn't get reminded that they needed to update their service so they didn't get a ticket. So is that fixed now? Okay.
Yep, that has been fixed.
Yeah, and I can imagine with some of that, it's if they allow notifications or not in their settings, that could be an issue too. Being part of a business, sometimes the one-star reviews are pretty interesting. But Mr. Mayor, maybe you can walk us through what it looks like for a pass holder. Say I live in the city, I have a $15 a year pass, and I have the app. I thought I heard you say if you're a pass holder, you do not need to.
So just to clarify the back to your previous question, the resident parking pass gives you 8 hours of free parking in off-street lots.
Yes.
Okay. There are no permits that provide more than 2 hours in the 2-hour zone. All parking in the 2-hour zone will require beginning a free parking session at a kiosk via the app or via text to pay.
Basically, like I'm an out-of-state resident.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. But one of the outcomes of yesterday's meeting with the police and department heads and the whole IPS team was that to make it seamless for residents to go park at City Beach, for example, no check-in at a kiosk required, right? Seemed like frictionless. You go park, you'd leave your car, go to the beach, chill out. You've got 8 hours, you got all day to not worry about it. If an enforcement officer comes along, the first thing they're gonna be looking for at every vehicle is whether it has a permit in the window.
Yep.
Just like your dump sticker. Say something else, right? City resident, county, whatever it is. If you do, move on to the next car. If there's no permit in the window, Russell, why don't you walk us through the workflow? If there's no permit in the window, what would an enforcement officer do next?
Yep, if there's no permit in the window, they would enter the license plate into our app-based enforcement solution. What that'll do is it'll go and check the database and see if there's any authorized parking sessions for that specific license plate.
Well,
If there's not,
quick, Russell, virtual permits. What are virtual permits?
yeah, great question.
Somebody forgets to put a sticker in their window. Are they going to get a ticket?
Absolutely not. We have a double check in place just for that sole reason.
So the permit is both virtual and physical. So sorry to interrupt, Russell, but that was kind of what I wanted you to get at. If they enter the license plate number, oh, this person is a permit holder. They just don't have a permit in the window.
Yeah.
So the next car. So Russell, go on. If there's not a permit associated with a license plate, what happens next?
Yep. So on the application, on the enforcement device, they enter the license plate number. It then goes and checks the databases, text to pay, our mobile app, the kiosk, and sees if there's a valid parking session. If there's not, it then shows that there's not an active session. They're now allowed to get a citation, and then you can issue a citation. That citation not only prints out, but it goes into a back office where the public can access it via license plate, VIN, or citation number. And from there, they can either pay, contest, or review the citation that was issued.
Russell?
And if there
Sorry.
is an active parking session after a license plate has been entered, what does the officer do?
If there is an active session, the handheld application will actually notify the officer that there is an active session. From there, they would stop writing the ticket and enter the reasons why.
So in theory, I could be on my 9th hour at the city beach. The police see the sticker, but they just bypass it because they see it pass. So in theory, I can get away with longer. Okay, I just want to make sure that.
That's kind of my question along that lines. How do they know how long you've been there? If I have a permit, a pass, how do you know how long I've been there?
We have an ordinance on the books right now that prohibits overnight parking at City Beach. The real question is if a car is
8 hours isn't a whole day.
I understand. And that's one of the reasons we went to 8 hours was because it makes it a lot easier to enforce, to be honest.
So they would not know how long I've been there.
If you're a permit holder, doesn't really matter how long you've been.
Okay. Who's the officer we're talking about? Who's the officer
Our
that's?
community resource officers.
And so they're the same ones with the handheld thing that are going around. How much time is this? I thought we were trying to save officers.
They do that today.
Huh?
They do that today.
We issue about $75,000 of parking tickets a year right now. I might be off on that.
Except it's a much more cumbersome process because they're taking pictures of valve stems and trying to figure out if a car's moved 6 inches. Yeah, we do that today. It's a cost that our wonderful crows, the chief can speak to what they do and how active they are if you want. But yes, that is something we do today. And the goal of this was to make that more efficient and less costly.
You can have a mother-in-law, they're efficient.
I have a permit. I don't have to go to a kiosk.
Correct. Unless you park in the 2-hour zone.
One of the interesting things we heard, council, was just the fact that these are there. Most people are good humans and want to comply. Just having this there, they saw one story we heard from our community. They just saw compliance. People just say, "Oh, I gotta pay $2 or I gotta have a pass." So we're hopeful that people visit our town are like that as well.
These are big cities you're talking about where these are. This is really not a big city. I understand people that are coming from big cities here might understand all of this. I'm thinking, I'm glad I walk and ride my bike everywhere because I can't imagine doing this. I'm just saying, and I'm not alone in this community with this. I mean, you're talking big cities, Denver. I have so many questions. Go ahead, somebody else.
Oh, go ahead, Pat. I've been talking.
Oh, I have a zillion, and I've already asked Jason.
Do you want to get a few more out before we go to something else, Councilwoman? Do that.
Sure. It's just so confusing. Where is the money coming from for the permit? What part of the city funds are paying for these permits?
For the kiosks, you mean for the hardware, the capital?
No, for your permit, your $14.50 permit.
Oh, when somebody pays for their permit, they're putting their own credit card in the system and they pay for the permit.
Okay, you said the city had to pay like.
Well, I should say, okay, if for a $15 permit, the cost to the city is $14.50, but we don't pay that. The permit buyer pays $15. The city keeps 50 cents.
So I'm paying $15.
You don't have to, but anybody who chooses to.
Well, if I buy a permit, I have to.
Yes, for a year.
Like,
Roughly on the state park permit, which is optional when you go to renew your vehicle registration, they offer you a $10 state park permit, which allows you to avoid paying the $5 parking fee that all state parks charge.
Which is really easy.
Yeah.
I pay $10, I put it on my car and I can go to any
In this case, you pay $15, put it on your car and you can go into and not have to stop at a kiosk.
Oh, I asked you so many questions today and I still, it's just, to me, I'll get to the bottom line of all this confusion for me. We need more time for the community. I know you said, and I appreciate all that you've done. It seems mostly you've gone to businesses, rotaries, people, plain old people walking down the street like I would have been, have not been approached, have not been shared all of this. And you're going to want us to okay a plan that's not complete because we don't have the fee schedule and they don't understand it. And that's, I think, a lot of the issue with people in the community in the past. who have problems with how we do things. It's after it's done, then we get to see it and ask questions and become educated on it. And I would really like, I'll just go right to the bottom line for me right now, I guess, is not agree to this today. You had a date of, I wrote something down. No, you had a date, another date. What was it? So, God, there's just so much. You had another date in May. What's happening in May? Is that when the fees are going to be?
May 17th is when the fee schedule hearing will be held.
Okay.
The new
So
fiscal year.
maybe postpone until that fee schedule and have time, except that's only 2 months. I would really like to have a time for questions and answers in person. I know you did a survey. It was a long time ago. Now that it's out here, we went through a plan a while ago and people got that in their heads and then it's changed a lot. Oh, okay, you can shake your head. I've seen a lot of changes and I wrote some things down. I listened to the meeting. I wrote some comments the mayor had said. I wrote some comments that you had said. There's differences now in a lot of what we talked about. And I can back all that up, but I'm not going to run the video for you guys again of that meeting. I'm just saying, I feel like there's going to be too much confusion. And I think we could avoid that with some pre-education, pre-public question and answer time before we okay this.
Just to clarify, it's at minimum 90-day rollout. So if we approve a contract in the next couple of weeks, if the mayor signs a contract in the next couple of weeks, we would be rushing to get this rolled out by the 4th of July, which is obviously our busiest weekend of the summer. Engaging in education with the community would be senseless until we have a contract signed, because what are we educating them about? So
about your possibility of having a contract signed. This is the possibility of our contract.
Well,
once it's signed, it just seems irresponsible, I guess, to me to go ahead and approve something, present it, and then try to educate and see how people feel about it. It kind of seems backwards to me. I know that's just me. Nobody else agrees with me, which is fine. I'm just saying that's where I come from as a regular citizen. And I already talked to you about that commercial zone A. Did you do anything to talk about that all those, the condos and the hotel would be in that commercial zone A, who could buy that permit and park on the waterfront? All the waterfront parking bothers me. The city beach is waterfront, and all of those people would have access to free parking for any time in those prized parking lots. And I know I talked to you today about that, and you said you were going to think about it. That's just another thing to throw out there. I have pages. I just can't.
Councilwoman
Mr.
Duquette.
Mayor?
Sorry,
Go ahead.
Council
If I
President.
might, I guess I'd like to point out that we passed a parking plan already.
We passed a policy of a plan.
Uh,
That was the wording. I wrote it down and
Councilwoman Duquette, if you can let Council President Rule speak, please.
My understanding is we passed a plan to accept paid parking, and now we're moving forward with the plan. We haven't gotten to the fees yet, and I know you're very, very concerned about the fees. So tonight is just to figure out and allow a contract for us to move forward with that paid parking plan. I agree with you, maybe there's been some small shifts and changes, but it seems like they have been in the lenient direction of allowing free parking in those 2-hour spaces to remain that. So I'm a little bit confused. I feel like your frustration is maybe still just, and I don't recall how you voted, but I'm guessing maybe you voted against the parking
I
plan?
did not.
Okay,
because-
so you actually agreed. Okay, I didn't recall your vote. But I guess what I'm trying to say is we have an adopted parking plan, and if we're going to implement that, we have to have a system to do so. And I think it's talking about whether we go with this contract or we find a different company. to do that. That's my understanding of what we're here to do tonight.
And and without trying to interrupt you, what I had said all along, even that night, this is not the fee plan. I said, you told me that I was not committing to fees to pass that.
As Director Welker said, we are going to talk about the rates and the fees in May. And I would just point out that right now it's free parking for all those people you mentioned. We don't have enough revenue to maintain our infrastructure. Parking lot is deplorable. And I'm just looking at the hourly projections for hourly payers of potentially as much as 500,000, even if Director Welker was way off and it's half that. That's going to give us money to fund Spot Bus. That's going to give us money, or you, I should say, to repave and maintain our facilities so that we can keep them in a condition that our residents deserve. And what I'm most excited about, it's going to mean that when I go down to City Beach with my family, there's not going to be 45 cars from Spokane there who are taking advantage of our free parking. And if they are there, great. They're going to be helping to pay for the infrastructure.
I understand wanting visitors to help pay. I'm just wondering, I'm going to only say two more things. If the lot tax passes, wouldn't that be doing the same thing? And I guess where I'm really coming from is this is just a big change for little old Sandpoint. And I think it needs to be done gingerly. I'm just saying.
I'll just respond to those before I turn it back over to council. So the lot tax, you'll have to decide what you want to put on the ballot and where those revenues will go. And it is a big change. I would point out this is a regularly scheduled and advertised open meeting where we had one member of the public come and speak to this. So I think that survey was pretty clear that folks support us finding ways to maintain our infrastructure. So with that, other
Did
council
get a lot
members.
of emails opposing. That's really my last.
Okay, you
Mr.
promise. Councilman
All
Shriver.
right.
I did have some questions, thanks. So if you're parking on street, you need a cell phone with data and internet to register, or you go to the kiosk? I'm sorry, that wasn't exactly clear.
Russell, do you mind responding to that?
Yep, absolutely. You have the option to do any of the three. You can either go up to the kiosk to register, you can use the mobile phone application, or you can use text to pay. You can choose whichever you'd like.
Gotcha. So if you pull up and your cell phone's dead, that you're not totally out of luck.
Absolutely. You can go to the kiosk.
Assuming you have a credit card on you.
Right. Yeah, there's no cash pay option. That's actually a really good point I hadn't thought of.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the feasibility of resource officers unlocking and carrying cans of coins and cash around was, not to mention that technology comes with almost double the cost for the kiosk that could accept cash. And the police pretty much drew the line saying we're not handling cash.
Got it. Perfect. Thanks. I did notice that the Sand Creek lot at Farm and Landing was in the parking management plan that we adopted, but it's not included in this. Is there a reason for that?
The proposal is to make that 3-hour parking in a lot at which employee passes would be eligible to be used. The thinking there was we don't know even the medium-term future of that property. There's been discussion in this chambers about possibly doing an improvement to that location in the next few years before SURA sunsets in 2029. It's eligible for SURA funding to improve that location. Certainly, if we were to do a permanent parking facility down there, it may or may not be appropriate to put a kiosk down there and make that 2-hour parking. But currently, the proposal is to make that eligible for all-day parking by downtown employees, which is currently what it's used for mostly. Just put that into our 3-hour zone where an employee permit would get you all-day parking down there.
Okay.
And if we do a improvement down there that formalizes that parking, and we actually make it a formal parking lot, which is not a formal parking lot right now, it's like an informal parking lot. It's still called Gunning's Alley after all. Then it would be up to council whether they wanted to bring that into the 2-hour zone.
Gotcha. Thanks. And then I did notice that the Bridge Street lot, about half of it is on ITD property. Do we actually have permission to charge for parking on ITD's property?
Councilman Schreiber, it's my understanding we have management over that lot, so we can double check on that for you.
Yeah, we could certainly check.
I call that the Lakeside lot. Also, if you were here when the Lakeside Inn was there, there used to be a hotel there. But the Lakeside Bridge.
But we're now having regular meetings with our ITD partners, so that's something we got easily.
Okay. And then something that popped in my brain was, what budget is this? What, 200 and some $1,000? I didn't see it in our budget for this fiscal year, so I was curious what bucket
Sarah said she'd be
that's
prepared
coming
to
out
address
of.
that. So
Yeah, thanks.
Good evening. Yeah, this was not budgeted in our current year fiscal budget. However, this is projected to have as much revenue as it is expenses in the current year. So my suggestion is we do budget $1 million as we say it's a grant, revenue and expenses for things like this, if they're generating revenue. So it wouldn't be something that you could use if it's not generating revenue. This one, what I would also suggest is that in the next year's budget is that we also are conservative. If it doesn't make, let's say, the $220,000, we do not budget the full amount as revenue available next year. We would scale that back, and then to be able to make up if it doesn't make that much, if that makes sense. So let's say right now we use that budget authority this year to do this. And then next year we project it's going to make 200,000. We would only project 100,000 of that to actually be usable revenue next year. The other 100,000 would be to use to pay if it doesn't make that much. If it does make it, we'll know by the end of the year, and that would be potentially able to be used for something.
Perfect. Thank you.
And Kyle, did you get that? Every year, Sarah puts about $1 million in for grants that we might get, and it has a revenue matching the expenditure. So we have that in here, and because there'd be revenue with this, it balances out. They did offer a lease, a very low cost monthly payment, but this is a much better deal to buy the kiosk.
Awesome. Thank you.
We have not used any of that this year at all. So, I mean, we haven't accepted any grants that were not already in the budget.
Perfect. Thanks. Yeah, that's all the questions I had. I guess I will just weigh in with my opinion while we're on it. I kind of tend to agree with Councilor Duquette on this, that it's a really big change that's going to really affect the feel of downtown. And it is a pretty big price tag as well. And so I'm sort of wondering if there isn't a way we could phase the rollout of it to give people time to become accustomed to this whole process. And the part of the parking management plan that I've heard the most support from the public from is City Beach, for sure, for the reason that the mayor just identified. And so I guess that would be my preference, is let's start with City Beach and get people used to having paid parking in Sandpoint and then roll it out. I definitely recognize, the high cost of free parking kind of concept of why First and Cedar would be the ideal place to put paid parking. But it's also, from a cost benefit standpoint, the most kiosks for the least amount of spots. Whereas at City Beach, you get like 300 spots for 3 kiosks. So that seems like a really low bar to kind of ease into it. And if it turns out that we don't like this system, then we've only bought 3 kiosks as opposed to, what is it, 40 or something?
46. Yeah, Councilman Schreiber, one of the really neat things about this we didn't go into, but their system allows you to create zones, and it's dynamic. As they mentioned, you can program these and change the parking rates or turn them on or off. So if interested, I don't want to make any promises, but if you wanted, and it made sense financially, we could install these, and you could turn them off in September. You could say, you know what, this is just basically the summertime kind of thing. You could drop the rates for 6 months of the year, the hourly rates, or to your point, if you wanted to roll it slowly, you could just turn on City Beach and then inform folks, get them used to it, and then turn on First Ave. But, I think it's it's going to be pretty efficient to do it all at once and just take that next step for us as a community.
Thanks. That did remind me of one other question that I had. So it sounds like these kiosks communicate via cell service. They wouldn't need any sort of hard-lined communication line.
Correct.
But what about power?
Solar with batteries.
Okay. Missed that. So there wouldn't be any like
Elastic.
street cuts or sidewalk cuts or anything like that to install them. It's basically just put some studs in the concrete.
Nope. And one of the other things we didn't touch on, Jason, you want to talk about boat launch fees and trailer parking fees?
Yeah,
'Cause
the
that's always a
parking
big.
management plan also proposed a boat launch fee that would have to obviously be applied at both the City Beach launches and the Memorial Field launch. Obviously, the nearest launch to Sandpoint is Dover. They charge $20 per launch. We're proposing $10 per launch. That's also similar to what public launches on Lake Coeur d'Alene charge. The options, I believe, in the fee schedule are for a Idaho registered vessel to buy a $50 annual unlimited launch permit. Also exactly what public launches in Coeur d'Alene charge. And non-Idaho vessels, $100 annual launch permit for unlimited launches. So, and one thing we confirmed with IPS is that you can configure these kiosks to make boat launch an option when you go to the kiosk. So we plan to place one kiosk right in the middle of the boat launch area. So it's very obvious. And we can have signage, of course, that says pay your fee here. And people launching vessels will then just pay their fee or enter their license plate number, which would be associated with the permit. And then for trailer parking, what Coeur d'Alene does is they charge 2x because trailers and vehicles take up 2 times as much space as a car. So for a non-permit holder who leaves a trailer City Beach, they'd be paying 2x the hourly rate of a non-permit holder who doesn't have a trailer if they choose to leave their vehicle at City Beach. Of course, we want to encourage people not to do that, right? Well, the whole point of this is to discourage demand at City Beach from non-permit holders. We want to free up spaces for permit holders to make it more convenient for those city and county residents who currently cannot find parking between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. during July or August. So we want boat launchers to not park at City Beach. We don't want them to pay that fee. We want them to go drive and park it at the hotel in Ponderay if they can, or go park it somewhere out away where we're not worried about congestion and salmon. So if you've been to City Beach, and what I wish I had done was get a drone up in the air during like a busy July weekend, because what we end up with, and it's an enforcement nightmare and it creates headaches for our park staff, is literally people with trailers driving up onto the grass, parking up on the grass, double parking other trailers, taking up a dozen or more vehicle stalls with their trailers. And it's just really hard to discourage that right now because we have no way to charge for parking down there.
Yeah, I think that I would absolutely support that. And I think that that would be a great way to get the public on board with the rest of it, is easing them into it with that. I guess the question I had about implementation of the boat launch is, I believe Dover has like kind of an arm that goes up when you pay.
I don't know.
And so what would stop somebody from launching without paying?
Yeah, there's always going to be violators.
The mayor's going to put a chair down there. I'm going to sit there. No, no, I like the idea of a launch. I mean, of a gate. We can look into that, Kyle. That's a great idea. I like that.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah,
you
go
guys
ahead.
haven't spent a lot of time at Memorial Field. I could see that gate lasting about a day, or somebody just runs right into it and breaks it off. But I mean, I'm not saying I would like to rely on honesty for starters.
Yeah.
I think navigating the boats with the crows would be a lot easier than cars. There's less boat spots and they can look at license plates and get a good idea there. But I mean,
Yeah.
you're always going to have violators, but
I had a question for Jason on that. Does Department of Lands or the state restrict what we do with those boat launch fees?
No, well, in fact, when I applied for a Waterways Improvement Fund grant last year, which we did not receive, $600,000 I asked for to resurface the City Beach parking lot. One of their questions was, are you charging boat launch fees at City Beach? And I said, no. They said, well, you should be, because we don't want to put money into a public marina where you're not paying for its maintenance through boat launch fees. So the Waterways Improvement Fund board told me your eligibility for state grant funds will increase if you're charging for boat launches here. They don't want to give us money, state boat registered dollars, to improve a boat launch if we're not maintaining it. And we don't have revenue to maintain it. So they're saying, implement boat launch fees, and your eligibility for grants will increase.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, boy. Councilman
Yeah,
Torres.
Mr. Russell, I have a question for you.
You can call him Mr. Robinson or Russell.
What did I say?
Mr. Russell, it's okay.
What do I
Russell
call him?
Robinson.
Russell Robinson.
Okay, it's getting late, Joel.
It's all good. Mr. R.
There you go.
I wasn't sure if I heard correctly. Are you allowed to accept Apple Pay or use Apple Pay through this or Google Pay? Is that correct?
Yep, the kiosks do take Apple Pay and Google Pay.
Great. What about any crypto?
Crypto, no.
Okay. Just
Yeah.
for the two fans of us in the city standpoint, I'm just checking. Just walk me through this, if you will. What would reduce kiosks? Let's say we're hearing concern about investing in a lot of kiosks where maybe it's something that doesn't work out for the city. We don't want to waste money. What would reduce the need for kiosks? Would it be people being more technologically savvy, where we just put signs instead of kiosks? Is that yeah, maybe you can answer that.
Yep, that's absolutely correct. That's a huge push. It's very successful in the higher education market currently, just because the user base is younger, more tech savvy. So they're getting away with moving away entirely from any type of pay stations. But when you have anything other than high or college education students, you have people that are used to paying at a machine. Because of that, they want multiple options to pay. And when you provide more options to pay, you get a substantially higher compliance. And when it comes to reducing the footprint, yes, you can absolutely reduce the amount of pay stations that you're supplying, but you start to run into issues of having individuals cross the street now to access a pay station, which is dangerous. You'd rather supply an ample amount for that given block or area on both sides of the street. So we're pretty methodical when we suggest, 7 to 10 spaces per pay station, just for access, safety, and for individuals to be able to find them easily.
Thank you. My other questions are for staff, so I'll wait. Thank you.
Councilor Torres.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand, like, Friday night, people go out. So what are our timelines for parking, I guess, in general?
Also, the 9 to 5s, I think, or maybe 8 to 5 is our current. So after 5 o'clock, there's no paid parking. There's no time limits either. So if you're going to a Thanksgiving show at the Canada, you get there at 5 for a 6 o'clock door opening, you go get a drink at the 219, you're not checking in anywhere because we're no longer enforcing time limits after a certain hour.
And then what if somebody decides that they don't want to drive home that evening and they leave the car over?
Don't get it before 9.
Before 9 o'clock, okay.
Well, I'm not sure when we start enforcing.
2
8 or
hours.
9.
2 hours in the morning, so come get it at
2
11.
hours in the morning, okay. So, but there is the option for people to
the
be,
requirement to check in for a 2-hour session begins when we start enforcing in the morning,
okay,
right?
okay, perfect. Thank you.
That's actually a good question. Could you check in early?
There actually is an option on the pay station for you to do a check-in that will start once the parking enforcement time schedule starts. That is completely configurable. It is optional.
There you
go. Joel had some more questions for staff.
Yeah.
Councilman Spiro, sorry.
Yeah, thank you. No, you're fine. I'm gonna go something more practical and then maybe something more philosophical that you can answer. So let's say I'm married and I buy a parking pass, $15. Is that to my house? Like both my cars are gonna?
It's tied to a license plate.
The only one car, so we'd need 2
Correct.
passes. Okay, well, that's good to know. What about a boat slip? Like if it's shared by a family and you have 3 family members that pay for the boat slip. It's registered under one person's name, but multiple.
What's our city policy on boat slips?
Yeah, like can we know for the parking pass, like can we all share that? Or it's just completely tied to the license plate?
You mean for a boat launch?
Yeah,
or-
no. For if we have a slip and we want to pay the $100
Oh,
annual fee, and let's say my dad wants to use the boat for that week or that day, and then I want to use it the next day, do I have to have his car to go?
this entire system is tied to license plates.
Right.
So,
But do you see what I'm getting at? So
yeah,
like,
I'd lend your dad your car that has the license plate with the permit attached to it.
so magnetic license plates,
There you
perfect,
go.
thank you. Another thing is the fear of businesses losing money, right? That was one thing we've heard is downtown. Do you foresee that being a realistic and maybe Mr. R can speak to this. Do we see that? Do we see people complaining that their businesses are losing money?
They're complaining now.
Yeah,
And here's
understand.
here's an example. We were in our technical advisory group meeting for downtown revitalization phase 3 on Monday this week, and the owner of Burlwood Decides, Corey, who's on the downtown business,
Right.
he's the representative. He brought up his frustration with people who come and park on the corner of First and Church right now, and leave their car with their backpack, go to City Beach Organics, and spend 4 hours using the Wi-Fi there, and never spend $1 at a store besides the $5 they spend on their latte or their coffee.
Right.
That is what this program is intended to create disincentives for, because they're taking up the most valuable parking in front of Corey's store, and he sees somebody come downtown. He's like, oh man, if only there were more parking available here. So how do we create an incentive to prevent that? I mean, you can call it abuse, right? Because a 2-hour limited time zone without effective enforcement is not effective. So the kiosk system places a small burden on the parker for the very great benefit of parking in a premium spot, and creates a disincentive to abuse that. Or if that person really does need 4 hours at the coffee shop with their laptop, let them pay $4, $2 for the third hour, $2 for the fourth hour. It's not the end of the world. But most people aren't going to do that, right? They're going to vacate their spot and go park in a 4-hour zone, or they're going to go out into the neighborhoods where they can park all day. And that's good. That's what we want. We want to create that turnover. We want to create a vacancy so that you are at an effective level of occupancy, not an ineffective level. 97% is our occupancy rate downtown during summer months. That's not serving downtown businesses.
Right. And I'm almost done here. I appreciate that. And I agree with you with that. Would you say, Jason, in all your research, and I think we've seen it historically, has Sandpoint been paid parking?
We had paid parking from the 1950s till 1990 on street, and until 2016 in our city lots. We sold
Right.
$25 monthly passes to get unlimited parking in the city parking lot. When Coachella opened its doors, the previous mayor took away the parking permits, and we have seen the consequences. We just spent $530,000 taxpayer dollars to resurface the city parking lot, and those who use it have not contributed a dime towards that.
Right. So I guess my point is, historically speaking, we've always been paid parking, right? Even the meters.
There's no such thing as free parking.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
literally
Because
the-
it's being subsidized by somebody, and right now it's the taxpayer. Historically, Sandpoint's always been paid parking, and I know those parking meters were new technology at the time, and I'm sure people were frustrated that they had to find a coin to go put it in there, and they're like, I can't believe this technology's in our town. So the reality is there's nothing new under the sun. And to Councilwoman Duquette's,
Comment on
what was that? What was that?
Go ahead, Joe.
To comment on what I said.
Why not?
No, he's the right to
No,
comment. That's what
absolutely.
we're doing here.
It's important that we dialogue with one another to have this discussion. It is a hard thing. Change is always hard for Sandpoint, right? When we had meters, I'm sure it was hard. And then it went to the diamond parking. That was extremely hard. We got rid of diamond parking, and now we enforce parking, and I get text messages quite often, very frustrated. I made a comment earlier that my mother-in-law got a parking ticket in front of my house. That was fun. But the reality is everything's always hard and different. And this is going to be nothing new in that arena. And we're not little old Sandpoint anymore. Putting parking meters or putting a kiosk actually be consistent with the history of Sandpoint. And that's straight facts, pure facts. That doesn't mean it's the best thing. I'm just saying from a practical historical standpoint, that is true. That does not mean people are going to like it. But the reality is this is the very problem. We're not little old Sandpoint anymore. We're a growing community. We have tourists coming left and right. It's only going to get bigger. And because of that growth, we actually have a worse parking problem. And that's exactly what this parking plan is trying to mitigate. That does not mean there's not going to be, I'm already going to see the frustration, because I know there's going to be time that I'm going to forget. My wife's going to forget. We're not immune up here on the dais from any of this change. But the reality is, it's to say that it's not consistent with Sandpoint. Actually, I'd say it is consistent with Sandpoint. The question is, how do you implement this paid parking? And that's why we're up here today. Is this the best option for the city? And I'll leave it at that.
Thanks, Councilman Spiro. Any other council questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to authorize the mayor to execute a contract with IPS Group for the implementation of a parking management system.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Council President Rule, second by Councilor Spiro. Any
Mr. Mayor.
discussion?
Yep, I have one more. thing.
We all get to discuss once now, so Councilwoman Duquette.
Yeah, sorrow to lose little old Sandpoint feel, I guess. I know we have many sophisticated, cultured, well-traveled people who live here and could agree with this. To go on the record, I do agree with boat launch fees 100%. I voted for a plan previously, yeah, just not this one, without allowing more time to ease us into this, however that could be done. I've had comments that said if they have to pay downtown, they won't shop here. They would rather go someplace where they don't have to pay. That's not everybody. I understand that. I think this is too much too fast. Yeah, hard and different, but we don't need to make it that way. You know, I was for a plan to help people help pay for the roads but just not this way, I guess, is my thing.
Any further council discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Schreiber.
Yeah, I'd just like to make one more plea for the phased rollout of this rather than approving the entire plan today. I think the public would support it a lot more if they got to see it in action before it suddenly showing up on their doorstep, so.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman.
I guess we can't ask staff, but I would be curious, if we can move forward with the phased option. Now, I don't know.
You know, Councilman Spiro, I think we probably have some flexibility when we turn these on and how we turn them on. I think that's worth discussing. So I think
Because it seems like even if we bought all the kiosks and didn't implement them right away, the revenue that this would create, even if it's half of that, would clearly pay this off and more. But that's just a side note. The other thing is, you know, people, no matter what the decision is in Sandpoint, I've been here since 1995. I've been on city council for 8 years, and the threat is always, well, we're not going to shop at Sandpoint anymore. Bypass, we're not going to shop at Sandpoint anymore. This Memorial Field, we're not going to shop at Sandpoint anymore. This, we're not going to shop at Sandpoint anymore. Paid parking, we're not going to shop at Sandpoint anymore. Well, where are you going to go? Are you going to drive to Coeur d'Alene and pay for paid parking to shop, to boycott Sandpoint? Are you going to drive to Bonner's Ferry, maybe park for free for what grocery store to save what money? Well, we're going to go to Ponderay and we're going to park in Walmart and go shopping there because it's free. Well, guess what? That's private. You can park there for free. Guess what? You can go to Super One. You can park there for free. You can go to Safeway. You can park there for free and shop there. We're talking about our downtown where it gets utilized. For example, the person buying a latte at City Beach Organics and not shopping locally. At least if the people that don't want to come to Sandpoint to spend their money, guess what? That's now an open spot for somebody who wants to spend money here that can find an open spot. So the threats of we're not going to shop at Sandpoint anymore. Well, guess what? Sandpoint is still here. How many years later, after all the threats, we're still here and we're going to be here. And this is actually, I think, going to boost our economy, not hurt it. But I do like the idea of possibly a phase out, if you will, and I am completely open to that. So that's it.
Mr. Mayor?
Council President Rule.
I guess my comments are really short. I appreciate what everybody said up here tonight. Parking is always hard. I've been up here long enough to have discussed this several times. I just like to point out that we are a city of just under 10,000 people. I received, and including the comments I heard today, less than 50 people that have shown grave concern about this. And I would be in favor of discussion as to how we do roll this out. But I think tonight's decision is actually purchasing the equipment. So we do have the option to roll this out however we want, and then we will have a fee discussion later.
Thank you, Council President. Councilman Torres. All right, this will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Spiro?
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber?
No.
Counselor Torres?
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette.
No, I guess I am not into purchasing the equipment without a better way to phase it in.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you, council members. This is a significant step that I think will benefit our ability to maintain, take care of our infrastructure. I thank you for your support. Moving on to number 17, executive session. At this time, I would entertain a motion to convene an executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74-2061A to consider hiring a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent, wherein the respective qualities of an individual will be evaluated in order to fill a particular vacancy or need. And Idaho Code 74-2061F to communicate with the city's legal counsel to discuss legal ramifications and legal opinions pending litigation, controversy or not yet being litigated, but imminently likely to be litigated.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Council President Rule, second by Spiro. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Torres,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Spiro,
Yes.
Counselor Rule.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, I'd ask everyone not participating in this session to please. And the meeting recording will now end. Good night, and thank you, everyone who came tonight and participated in this public forum.
Are we going upstairs?